Testing, testing.
It's on. Mine's still recording. Mine. I think this big piece is when you have another microphone that's on. Trying to talk. And I think, can we just try and plug in Josh?
One.
Yeah, when you push it, it turns off. Otherwise, it just stays on all the time. That's why it starts. You can hear it. We might need to unplug two if we can. Or switch it.
Did yours get feedback when you push the button?
No, that's Mr. Stall's stuff. Hear that?
Mine's doing it.
Well, it has his is on constantly. That, you want to try it? Let's see how. Yeah. See.
Yours is not going to mine's doing
Good, good, good. We passed it down the line to it.
Say anything, I
it.
guess.
You guys do this one. Mine
We're doing something.
Mine says 8, I don't know what it was, what it said before.
I'm on 9. We're in the right order. 3 and 2 somehow. The bamboo. The bamboo is wonderful.
Is it? Need more?
I will.
Come get it soon.
I will.
That one you got, I'm probably gonna burn this weekend. It's just. I think you said minutes. There you go.
Can we hear us? Yeah. Seems like something's on YouTube. That's us. That's the blue check. We got sound. It's just not good with the sound equipment tonight. That's all I'm like. Don't take our speakers right now. What about these guys? I feel like the ones on top.
That's better.
Probably won't listen to now, probably.
We'll call the meeting to order. Wow. So if everyone could please stand for the pledge and a moment of silent reflection, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Clerk, could we have roll call, please?
Here?
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 Here.
Here.
Present? Here.
Present.
Did everyone get a chance to take a look at the April 2nd minutes? Any questions or concerns? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
There are no public hearings tonight. We do have communications and announcements.
using John. Just talk, his will pick all of it up. I promise. I sound wonderful right now, don't I? You know, I have nothing pushed, so, you know. Keep it early. But I don't know how to do it for everything else, but I'm telling you. Oh, is that where it's at? The lights. Lights do not affect sound equipment. That is the actual effect. My sound equipment. How to run the equipment? We can discuss that.
Basically the same except for the presentation. But nothing about sound. And she is.
Test. Test. It's better. Test. It's not echoing.
Was this part of that point you showed me yesterday? No, that's different.
They said, we'll count how many polls we have for all the different school sites. And you think that, besides the fact that this year my school, me finding a new job because eighth grade isn't there anymore, it's hard. Elementary Cardinal now in the same area. But they all share the same home state.
We still have
local
sound?
state.
Are you on the website? Do we still have sound there?
And so, save the
Well, we have two main items for communications announcements. We have a presentation on the comprehensive plan and an update from Mid-Ohio Water and Sewer. Just for the audience to know, this is strictly an informational presentation and update for the city of London. It's not going to be a town hall meeting due to the focus of the session. There will be no open questions and answer period for the audience. If you do have questions or concerns for Mid-Ohio Water and Sewer District, just please reach out to them or encourage you guys to go to their board meetings for that. So with that, first up, let's go with OMH. If you're ready, please. Yes.
Sound check? Testing. Can you hear me all right?
Might want to just tilt it a little bit.
Pardon me?
Tilt it back a little bit.
This way?
Yep, that will
Okay.
pick you up the well.
All right,
Thank you.
good. Is everything up there all right? Good evening. My name is Kim Littleton. I'm from OHM Advisors. I was involved in this plan as a project manager over the past several years, and it's been a real pleasure to work with community.
I'm sorry. I can hear the YouTube. I can hear the live feed.
You have to check out the mute your mic.
Just turn it on and down there. It's fine. We know it's live.
Or is it on the computer? Was it in the plan for? You can see all of it there. If you want to, I think it's gonna have something.
Oh, okay.
Can you see it okay from there? There's a sliver. Back a bit. It's good on.
Okay, let's see where it was. So I've been asked this evening to update you on what we did with the plan, and you are in the process, I understand, of having a third reading for the plan. You've gone through 2 readings before this. And I'll just give an overview of the plan, because I'm sure some of you, if not most, all of you have dug into it, and your thoughts and ideas concerning how you will work with the plan as you move through in the next few years as the leadership in the community. The overview starts with, and I think really the key part of it is that comprehensive plans are done, or supposed to be done, once one is completed about every 5 years. It seems like you're going to, some communities think maybe we should do these every year, again, how much things change, how much the built environment changes over time, and how much demands on cities fiscally and economically and socially in the communities in order to maintain their populations, and maintain their citizens and their infrastructure. The plan basically provides a clear roadmap. It aligns the land use that you already have that exists with the infrastructure. In other words, the infrastructure is extended, and I know your infrastructure is supplied by the county, and you're involved in decisions about where the infrastructure is extended, how it's maintained. And it's important to time your land use decisions with the extension of the infrastructure, and not to have to force utilities all over the region and then eventually have to pay for them. A judicious expansion of utilities is very important. It also, the plan takes a regional perspective. In other words, we started the plan out saying you're basically in the middle of a growing region. Columbus was number 2 in the country, behind Indianapolis in growth. You're impacted definitely by that, and you've probably been feeling it for quite a bit of time, but just recently I think its growth is moving further west, and you're seeing an interest in this area in not only the commerce, but also in population migration. And also, it also supports a more predictable decision-making for council. You have something to fall back on and something to base some of your policy making on as well, especially when it comes to land use and zoning decisions. So what are we asking you to do tonight? Well, first, adopt the plan. That would be great. I think the earlier you do that, the better. You'll be using it to guide the code to help you migrate or transition to working on your zoning update. And some communities think they have their plans up to date, and then they find out when a new developer comes to town, he finds another loophole. So it's important to keep those plans up to date. As far as the planning process is concerned,
I need you to pause. It's not,
pause. Okay.
Time out. We're just having a
Okay.
good old time here. I think it's this, cable's messing with our stuff.
Yeah.
There's no live feed, but it says it's still live. Yeah, it's frozen.
Hold it up and have it running right now.
I think it came back on. It's back on. You have it back on?
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
In brief, the planning process began with the first two steps of community analysis, where we investigated the community, learned as much as we could about it. I've been through a number of times coming, kind of a shortcut. I live in Delaware, going down to the Cincinnati area. We also used it as a means of getting a good handle on how the community perceived, the public perceived growth and development in the community. And we got some good feedback from folks, both online and the surveys that we put up, but also in the public meetings that we had. We had good feedback from them as we progressed through the plan. We had 2 open houses. We had a survey that was sent out, and we had attendance I know at other meetings with stakeholders. We interviewed them. Those are folks in the community who have a vested interest in the growth and development of the town. They can be property owners, they can be business owners, and they can be executive councils like you, or members of council. We also had a steering committee for oversight, and that was basically to keep us on track, keep us glued to the process. We got good feedback from them as far as direction is concerned. And it's really a 2-track process we went through. One is a data-driven one, which we get information and we collected GIS information, census information, and even research that we did as part of the housing analysis, where we looked at data and records from different data sources. And then a process of getting informed by the community. And toward the end of the whole project, those two procedures or processes linked together. As far as key takeaways concerned, something that as you go through the plan, and if you haven't already, and you go through implementing it, that the community analysis was the first part that we looked at income and housing, and I'm doing this in a little more detail, land use, zoning, place typologies, and I'll explain what that means in a minute, how some of the undeveloped or underdeveloped areas of the community could grow in the future, what the condition of the infrastructure was, where it was located, where planned extensions were going to take place. We had the steering committee oversight, and then we also followed our data-first promise. As far as the growth and development of the community is concerned, we usually adopt what we call a framework. It's not a real specific examination, but it sets up something on which you can structure future decisions. The way we did that is we first have targeted focus areas. We look at specific sites in the community. We work with the administration in selecting those. Ones that see some promise as far as having, some investment recently, having interest in redevelopment or infill. Also, their location is beneficial. We also looked at mobility, how the community is connected. We all think of cars as being the main thing, but today there's more and more investment in active transportation, which includes bicycles and pedestrian transportation. You have access to a regional trail system right at your back door. And one of the key components of that was looking at ways in which we could tie your current pedestrian system into that and to connect other parts of the community. And it's a very walkable, at least the core center part of the community, the neighborhood surrounding it. And it's very beneficial. Today, people are looking for smaller communities. One of the reasons that Columbus has been growing so fast is because of small communities like London. And the reason for that is, first, they get a good value. They get housing, which is a lot less expensive than where they're coming from, which is basically in the southwest part of the country. And they also have jobs here or in Columbus or in the Columbus area. Then we also wanted to make things as predictive as possible with respect to zoning. In other words, in some cases, a zoning code should be like a recipe book. It gives you a picture of what you want to see, what you want to have in the community, the type of housing, the type of commercial development, the type of industrial development, what it looks like, how it's laid out, what the character of that development is. And then from there, it tells you how to put it together. And then after that, you can check to see whether it turned out the way the picture showed you. So we'll be giving you that picture with the vision for the community. And then when the zoning code is updated, it will give you what the ingredients are to go into creating the code, and then also how to put them together over time. So it's kind of like we're cooking something here, or you should be thinking about that way as you move into the future. And then it also gets away from reactive decision-making, where you have running around trying to put out fires all the time. You have a path of actually constructing something, progressing over time. So one of the things that we use in trying to get a better understanding, not only getting a better understanding of the community, but also to set up a new kind of geography for regulating development. And that geography is based on the type of place that you will be seeing future investment, either infill or redevelopment. And that's based on what the current context is. And that has a lot to do with things like most communities, if you think about it, most mature communities anyway, have a center to them, and outside that center they have a neighborhood of a decent density, a walkable kind of compact development, historically the older part of the community, several neighborhoods that have grown out from that over time. They're similar to it, urban in nature, and then outside that ring is a suburban development pattern. And then you have the corridors that pierce those neighborhoods. And as well as that, in addition to that, districts, like industrial districts, hospital areas, campuses, things like that. So we tried to take that model and look at through that model lens and see how we could kind of, transpose that on the community. And, you have grown. You're a nice community. There are some communities that would be envious, or a lot of them that are, some that don't have a downtown, that are, a lot of them, the inner ring suburbs of Columbus. If you know, some of those don't have a characteristic downtown because they were built in the 60s and 70s, and they were a bedroom community that thrived off of Columbus. So they don't have the historic core or historic center like you do. This type of development guides the form, character, and its intensity. So we're not thinking about just land use anymore. We're not thinking about use as being the driver, that you have residential, commercial, industrial. You have districts that are more described as a neighborhood district, or a corridor district, or a center district to the community. Again, the context is what's important. So what you'll be asking yourself as you go through and these projects come up, is this the right type of development here in this location? And that location is really important to understand. So just to show you how that works out in plan, first we focused on the corridors, the focus areas, and then infill opportunities. And you see the red on the map indicates what the major corridors are and the commercial developments along those. Then the focus areas, and I'll show you those in a minute, and then infill opportunities. And we did that at a much smaller fine-grained scale than this map shows. This is a generalized map of the pattern. The idea was to protect established neighborhoods, and also we got a real good lesson in agricultural preservation, how important that is to your economy here. You're sitting also in one of the most agriculturally rich areas of the state. And that is an attribute where a lot of communities don't have, where farmers are forced to add nutrients to the soil, lots of fertilizer, and it's mostly clay. It's not that fertile. It could be also, wet, extremely wet on the other side, but you have a good fertile soil here, a natural soil that's easy to grow crops on. And we also looked into, it's more specifically the housing. We were asked to look at the housing economy in a little more detail than we did the other components, and so we hired a consultant to help us with that. And in the housing assessment, very generally, and if you look at the report, we have a summary within the text itself, and in the appendix there's more detailed charts and graphs if you really get into that kind of thing. There's a strong demand for mid to upper price ranges in housing, but there's also a limited supply right now meeting that demand. So keeping up with that growth is not easy to do. And also the lower income households that are in the community are facing barriers. Barriers to entering the housing market, not only financing, but in locating housing, housing that fits their needs, housing that is a variety, not just a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage house. They're looking for something that meets their needs, that's modern if possible. A variety of housing so you can age in place is one of the goals of the plan. So you aren't forced to go live somewhere else just because the housing doesn't accommodate you. The direction that we thought was important for the community to take and to consider was to expand the housing types that you have, not just the subdivisions in that sense, where you're building more or less the same unit one after the other, single family unit. But you expand those types to include, single family, 2-family, 3-family, 4-family, multi-unit buildings that are part of the neighborhood. And there's a trend going on right now to try and get a handle on the affordability crisis, and that's to offer missing middle housing. How many of you have ever heard of missing middle housing before? On the spectrum of housing out there, what's mostly being built is single family, as I mentioned before, 2 or 3-bedroom house, 2 baths, 2-car garage, sometimes 3-car garage, enough garages to handle all their cars, but not the kind of housing that people need in the community and to feel part of the community and to live within some of the existing neighborhoods. And so they're starting to design housing, and it's getting the attention of the federal government and also the state of Ohio. Housing that looks like a single-family home, is designed to look like a single-family home, a little larger single-family home, but it also has two units in it, 3 units in it, 4 units. It can have up to 6 units and still maintain the size of a single-family home. So designing it that way and putting it in the neighborhood makes it more compatible. So we don't end up with the type of single corridor units on either side, 2, 3 floors, have a fire access at both ends that we're all familiar with in apartment buildings. This gives people a chance to live in housing within the neighborhood of the same scale and character as what's already there. And then the same holds true for redevelopment. If you have an opportunity to do that in some areas, the focus areas are examples of ways to do that, and that's one of the reasons here in the plan. And then also it's important to align the zoning with the real market conditions. And what we mean by that is if you cycle back to missing middle, that's a demand for now. And if we're able to, in the zoning code, to accommodate what those types of missing middle housing are and what they look like, what their pattern, form, and character is, then it'll be easy for you and easier for the outside development community or those in the community developing to see what the community is thinking about as far as future development. And with respect to mobility and connecting up the community, we found that the gaps in the area were, one, getting access to the downtown, and then also access from the neighborhoods to the parks and schools. It has a lot to do with the current road network that you have right now. And there are some areas in which you have a really strong gridded pattern, and it starts to fall apart as you move out of the community. So it's better connected into the core, but as we move out, it makes it more difficult to move around in a car, in a bike, or to walk. So our strategy for doing that is, first of all, prioritize sidewalks and the crossings that they have to make them safe. Expand the trails and bike routes, particularly at the southeastern part of the community. Connect the neighborhoods to key destinations, and phase improvements over time. And that's just to make things more economical and more staged. So one of the places we see probably the greatest economic activity are along your existing corridors. And those are your industrial corridors you see in the blue color, and in the red corridor, your existing roadway corridors. And the reason we feel the approach you should take for that is to, one, think about infill development, because that pattern, as I mentioned before, we looked at land that was underutilized as well as land that was vacant. And that underutilized land there's plenty of room to grow, even within the corporate limits of the community. The way to do that is through infill development, also with improved design of the projects and access. And the zoning code is one thing that can help you achieve that. Access is important along these corridors to try and limit the places that you have access, combine access points or curb cuts, have access to the rear, connect these neighborhoods, set up a network that supports the corridor where you have alternate routes to get through the community. And that's what you're really missing as you move out along 42 and 142 outside the community. You don't have any ways of getting into, if say for instance those roads are closed off, there aren't many options to get through the community without having to drive through some single-family residential neighborhoods. And then also mixed-use opportunities. There along the corridor is a great way to do that. Put housing mixed in with commercial. You can have institutional uses along the corridor. That's the critical part of it, because the greater the mix you have to uses, the less pressure you put on the roadway network, because you don't have to travel as far to get to your daily needs. So that's a critical thing. And Columbus are experimenting with putting multifamily housing within shopping centers. Strip centers were built in the 60s and 70s because they have immense parking, and taking advantage of that space, and then people can meet their daily needs. It's not an ideal environment, shopping environment like a downtown is, but it is an environment in which people don't have to get in their car and drive to the place and then go out in the major roadway corridors and jam up the traffic. That's one benefit of mixed-use development. And then also balance that with revitalizing the downtown. We don't want one to get ahead, particularly the corridor development outside the community, to get ahead of the downtown. And we've all seen a cycle, some of us have been around long enough, cycles of downtowns emptying out. And then now they're going through a cycle of filling back up because they're becoming desirable places to live and shop. So there's infill and redevelopment, and the critical part of that is public space improvements. And we like to think of the street as being one of the critical places to make an investment. If you notice in the plan, we showed cross sections of like 4 different kinds, depending on how you wanted to utilize the roadway and make it a public space, return it to what it originally was before. Have you ever seen old photos of old downtowns where they have a trolley car or a streetcar running through the downtown, and there's horses pulling a carriage, and at the same time a guy's riding a bike and their kids running across the street? All in the street, there's just mayhem. And that took place in a much slower world. But ideally, that's what that realm was built for. And it could return to that if we work on ways in which we can slow down movement. We had 4 different focus areas that we felt where there were targeted investment. We had the highest interest in the public investment. And we also prioritized, infrastructure and redevelopment and partnership with landowners in those areas. So those were the focused areas up in the north, in the core part of the community, neighborhood adjacent to the core, and then down where we have an existing park. Of course, we can't go without our community parks. The way to get a cart really well utilized is to have pedestrian access to it. It seems counterintuitive to drive to a park and then walk around. Ideally, you'd want to walk to the park, walk around, and then go home. So that radius of where you have a park and where you live, or have a park and where you work, is critical. And the more parks that we have that are integrated into the neighborhoods, the better. And what this plan changes in the community, or what it tries to do, is it moves from a situation where you probably are doing, and we notice this when we talk to stakeholders, case-by-case decisions to more policy guided. In other words, we have a policy document here is what it is. And it's based on a policy hierarchy that starts with the goal, there's an objective, and then there's action steps preceding that. And we have those laid out here, and we have a time frame that are hooked to those. So this provides clear expectations for developers. They know what the community is investing in. They know where they're going to invest it. And it has a stronger legal policy and foundation. if you have a plan and you have a code that goes with that, the code has a lot more legitimacy if it's based on a comprehensive plan. So a plan is only successful if it's implemented, and the first thing to do, we recommend, and the plan recommended, is update the zoning code. That's your short-term priority. In the midterm, work on the capital improvements alignment, the capital improvements program aligned with population growth and public-private partnerships. I think in the downtown you have that kind of thing, and some of these industrial areas you have that kind of thing. Keeping that going is important. And then a phased approach to managing costs. So the action items, as I mentioned before, initiate zoning code updates, prioritize those sidewalk and connectivity aspects of it. People are out walking today. They're out biking today. You have a tremendous asset here with the trail. And we've identified a couple of focus areas that we felt were ripe for immediate investment, for early investment. And at the same time we're doing is start exploring for funding tools, grants, incentives. The state of Ohio has a program where if you have a mixed-use project in mind, they'll help fund it. The developer comes in and wants to do a retail on the lower floor, offices and apartments on the above floor. In Columbus, there are a lot of developers taking advantage of that. They'll help underwrite that for you. They're trying to spur that kind of development at the state level and get local communities to do it. So long-term outcomes from doing this and following a plan, you have a stronger tax base. Everybody loves that. You have more housing options to choose from. You have probably a safer and better connected community, and you have a vibrant downtown and corridors. One of the keys to getting the downtown continuously operating is to have a strong population in the perimeter of the downtown, supporting the downtown. If you prioritize housing, that's the location to do it, to build the population up. Many years ago in Columbus, if you've ever been to Short North, in the 70s, that was, just a lot of empty storefronts and spaghetti places and coney dogs, and it was just, just kind of a nowhere space between OSU and the downtown. It wasn't until investment was made in the adjacent neighborhoods that they eventually got galleries there, and that turned into housing, which turned into more retail. So now we have an extremely vibrant corridor with the same urban problems that we have at other places, but it is a very vibrant, connected corridor in Columbus. And when they put the cap on, that reduced that friction between the downtown and the rest of that corridor. Just those visual enhancements and physical improvements and having people close into the mixed-use environments, the housing, the office, and everything else, they could just walk to work and back. It's very easy. So what's next? Obviously, we'd like for you to adopt the plan. We can check off our list and say, great, we went through the process. That's for us. I'm selfish. Sorry about that. Establish it as official policy guides I mentioned before. It allows you as council to direct staff to implement some of the plan. And then we really feel it's important to monitor the progress. This is really something I think to some extent helps with your constituents. This is just an example table you can set up any way you want to, but has the objectives, actions, and a way to measure them in each one of the policy statements in there. So you have goal 1 through 6, and then you have the years over there, and you identify what year you're going to implement that particular goal, and then you move from there. It's just, you could do this any way. And you show your constituents that you're making progress on implementing the plan. And that gives them an idea that the investment you made off in it is paying off. And that there is a certain degree of accountability with it too. So that's one of the reasons why we feel really important to do that, is to measure your progress. That could be in year 2027, how many miles of bike lane did you put in the community? Or measured by square foot of retail space that was added, or something like that. Quantify it and make it available to the community on a regular basis. So that's the end of my presentation. It was meant to be overview. I didn't get a lot of the weeds like the plan does. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I hope I haven't overstepped my time frame here.
Yes, I do. So I have, we're gonna try this out. So I have multiple pages of notes as going through that.
Uh-huh.
5 pages right now, and I'm not even through the whole thing. And I know we're not gonna get in the weeds on that, but my biggest questions then are, how do we use this final draft? And I know you've addressed some of that, but if we adopt it, we're adopting it as is. And I'm asking, how do other governments address this once it's presented to them before they adopt it? Or do they have meetings? Do they suggest changes? Do those changes get sent to you? Do those get added to the plan? I mean, this is kind of a working document, or is this plan, as you presented, the plan that we're gonna have, and no other changes to be made on your end?
We hadn't anticipated any other changes because we have run by the city with their comments, incorporated those we had. We had the stakeholder comments that we put into it. We had the comments from the public on our progress of the plans. We've gotten a lot of input on it. Our intention is not to go back and go through it. And I know you're on your third reading, so that means you're serious about adopting it. There's that 30-day referendum or holding period you have that anyone has an opportunity to provide input. We feel that, there probably are things that plans take several years to put together. We noticed there was some change even in the 2 years. As you even move into the adoption process, things happen. So we understand it changes, but you also have an opportunity to update it, and the sooner you update it, obviously, the more use you'll get out of it. But I think it sets the foundation for you to start implementing things. I would hate for you to get caught up on how a word is used or whether or not you like that certain objective or goal, as opposed to just finding those things like we recommended as far as the focus areas, get started on it and move with it. So that's been our plan. That's what we understood when we were coming out here. We were on the tail end of your process of the plan. But I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
We're not gonna, that'll be all night. We're not doing that
Okay.
tonight.
Okay, that's all right. That's all right.
I'd be happy to email those to you directly.
Okay.
But if you don't want to do that all night long, I'm sure. Thank you.
Sure.
You all done? All right. Well, yeah. Oh, what's still out? I'm just gonna go off his also. Thank you very much for coming on out, because, yeah, this, even if, hey, we maybe push it off one more reading just to kind of, hey, go over all this again. I know I'm gonna wanna watch the video just to kind of see this and kind of think about how that is. Are you able to video us or email us your presentation there?
Yeah,
Possibly to go
I
back
can leave
through?
it. You probably could pull it right off onto here. She could. It's in the thumb drive right now. She could pull it off here.
And, yep, so that's all very good, just for us to be able to see, since I know that's not in the actual video here. My thing was kind of along with the adding items later on, how we might be able to. Surveys is my primary concern there. I know you discussed how we have infrastructure that is primarily jotted or kind of documented on what condition it's in. And that's one where the storm sewer, there isn't very much information on that right now. So would you recommend that that's something for us to pursue and add in there later on ourselves?
Yeah, I think it's in the capital improvements end of it. I think with the storm sewer situation, you tend a lot of things that are buried around underground. People have a tendency to forget about. They can be cable, it can be water and storm sewer, and one of those things that is difficult to do is access it when there's a problem. So avoiding that problem with the technology that we have today, with the camera technology, the robotic technology, it's real easy to maintain those systems without having to wait until they fail. And so that's one of the things that, in looking at your system here, obviously there are parts of it are newer, other parts that are older. I would imagine the part in the core. I didn't sense that there was a real issue with combination sewers right now, or that you attacked that before, I can't remember. But that as a piece of infrastructure is important, because if you're going to be expanding, then you want to think about how that's going to influence your current capacity to treat the effluent and your current capacity to handle the flow into the community.
Thank you very much. And yeah, I guess that would be more of a future one. I guess one that we do currently have is the sidewalks that we just got. Should we put that in here now or kind of just have it as a side note or kind of item to go with it?
The sidewalks?
Yep, just kind of the sidewalk surveys.
The saying goes between planners and engineers and landscape architects that if you build a pedestrian infrastructure, which can include a combination of sidewalks, pedestrian use paths, which are usually wider than sidewalks, usually 8 to 10 feet, where you can multi-use, rollerblades, scooters, walking. Those are a priority or should be a priority in the community because when you build those, the people come. If they're not there, they don't use them. The state with the largest number of miles of trails and pedestrian paths is Minnesota. It also is the state with at one time it's growing in other states now, I probably caught up with them, the largest number of golfing holes in the country. Now you think about their climate, you begin to wonder what's going on here. Well, I went up to Minnesota one time in the summer, and it's a zoo. There are people all over themselves in the state parks and the local parks and on the golf courses. They utilize those facilities and really utilize them well, and they just keep building them. So building it in a location is convenient to the neighborhood, building it in a hierarchy like you have right now set up with the trail system tying into your own pedestrian sidewalk system, it makes it a lot more enjoyable. I know I haven't done this route, but I've done the route going through to, let's see, it's west of here to Yellow Springs is a great path. You get to Yellow Springs and you've got the restaurants, the ice cream places. It's just a wonderful place to stop, spend the day, get back on the trail and move out, head toward Dayton or any other place you want to go. So those kind of trips people are doing more and more of because they're affordable, they involve your family, they make good use of summertime. So I think an investment in that is one way to build your economy, attract people to your community, getting them here on enjoyment. They may think about coming out and living here. So that is a really good way of setting. It used to be that companies would decide to locate somewhere based on where they felt they could get the most resources, or it was water or they could mineral resources or whatever, and particularly water, and we have plenty of it here in Ohio. But today it's a different approach. Businesses go to communities looking for talent. And talent only goes to communities where they have something to do. So you combine a community that has something to do and the talent that comes there to do things, then the businesses follow. And that's been a trend in the past 10 to 15 years, where you create the place, you enhance the place, you advertise and promote the place, and the people are attracted there to live or entertain themselves or recreate and eventually locate. So that is the main attraction tool. It works the best of any we've ever seen, and it's worked for a lot of communities that we've worked with.
And last one is real quick, but thank you very much because I love to hear about parks, trails, and all the sidewalks getting updates. How would you recommend follow through on who is bringing initiatives to council to either change the zoning codes or having these different items, projects possibly done? Who would be the driving force that would be, I guess, bringing those out? Is that just administration?
A combination of. It can be the administration proactively being involved with the development community. It can be the Chamber of Commerce. It can be at the county level, working with the county in their economic development program that they have, and at the state level and the connections they made there. It all happens at different levels, and getting the word out about this community, promotion-wise. We had a section or chapter in there about wayfinding in the community. That's critical. Having a real good, solid wayfinding system, that's signage that is a system that has the same logo, has the same color, has the same font on the lettering. It is different heights, whether you're dealing with pedestrian scale or you're going along the highway. Some of it's directional signage, some of it's informational signage. That combination of signage is going to enhance the pedestrian experience. It'll also do another thing. it'll make better utilization of your parking downtown. If you're able to channel people around the downtown to find a place to park, whether it's the public parking space or even on-street parking and where that's available, people will use it rather than circling the block and trying to figure things out on their own. So if you have that well signed, you'll start to alleviate a lot of the issues you have with parking in some parts of the downtown. So those things, the wayfinding is critical, and having a unified signage system that advertises the community, that starts at the trail, moves people through the community, shows where the businesses are. In Delaware, they put a signage system up in the downtown where they have these magnetic metal pieces that are slotted in, and it's a directory sign, and whenever a business comes and goes, they just make a new one up, slot it in there, and then they go. It's not permanent, but they have the name of the business right on there, right on the street, so you don't have to wander around. It goes all the way to fancy kiosks that push button and all that stuff too, that they have some downtowns. But the idea of the wayfinding is important, and you have one great asset here for that, and that's the courthouse. I would imagine a lot of you have told people that have come to town, go downtown, turn left at the courthouse. You can see it as you're coming into town. It's a great wayfinding tool. It's a landmark that people can see for miles. Start there and set up a system. That's important. It's not that expensive to do.
That is the one tab that says my favorite item.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes.
Good.
Oh, yes.
Good. Glad you like that.
I just don't think we should put McDonald's
And-
on there, because I'll say go left of that
Right.
probably more often than the
That's right, and
courthouse.
I would make a trek on your own sometime. Come up to Delaware, go to Worthington. They have one of the most
Oh, yeah.
historic wayfinding systems I've ever seen. They've had it for a long time, and it's worked really well to get your way around Old Worthington and other neighborhoods in Columbus.
Thank you very much. That's all I had. Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
Right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, with, up next, Mid-Ohio.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for the invitation tonight. I'm going to give you a little bit of the journey that Mid-Ohio's been on for the past, 2.5 years here in the city of London. So we'll get into everything, and hopefully I'll answer some questions you guys may have as we go through this. If not, we'll have some time at the end of the presentation. Arrow down, you like that? So the first thing, when I started thinking about this presentation, what conversations had 3 years ago for London to come to Mid-Ohio and say, hey, we'd like to be a partner in your organization. And we talked to the mayor and some council people at the time, and these are just some of the things that came out of those conversations. Operational and staffing deficiencies. It's hard to keep certified people in our industry. I think a lot of people are aware of that. Infrastructure and operational challenges that were faced by the city. And just a quick little thing. When this started, I had to prove to myself, why did London need Mid-Ohio, right? We were going through all these things, and these were some of the things that were listed. And, and on the surface, it was, well, you got a wastewater plant that's got capacity. You had a new water plant that was built. You had the West plant. And until I went and looked at the facilities and saw really what you were facing, kind of what made me really say, hey, we need to help these guys out. It's the same thing we did at Plain City. It's the same thing we do at Mount Sterling. Mount Sterling is not a partner, but we've operated that facility since about 2015. So that's kind of what brought us to the table initially with the city. Capital investment needs, obviously everybody is aware of what we're facing as far as wastewater and water capital. economic growth demands. You just heard a lot of that in the last presentation, which you guys are facing, what we're facing throughout Madison County. And regulatory compliance. Highway EPA is always finding ways to reduce limits, increase testing. That's never going to go away. So those are some of the factors that we looked at when we came on board with London. Recruiting was a big concern for the city. You have a Class 4 wastewater treatment plant, the highest classification in the state of Ohio. It's difficult to find a Class 4 operator to run that facility. Your water plant's a Class 3. Again, not easy to find people that have not only the certification, but the experience to operate these facilities. So, Mid-Ohio came in, and this is kind of an example of what we bring to the table. We have a staff of one Class 4 operator. We have 2 people working on their Class 4s now, and that's not taking a test. That's writing a whole document of sections of a lot of things. It's more of a management type tool that the Ohio EPA uses. We have 8 Class 3 wastewater, 4 Class 2 water. That changed today. We have another one. We actually have 5 now. You can go on down the list. 2 maintenance mechanics, we have 7 in the distribution collection system. Next thing that we knew coming into this was aging treatment facilities. Go by the wastewater treatment plant, looks fairly new and still looks good and all that. But it's 20 years old. The last expansion was done in 2008. So, you're facing about that 20-year mark. Equipment starts failing, pumps starts failing about the 15-year to 20-year mark, so we're right there. The Westwater plant, we call it Christian Avenue plant now, but really, really old. Really old facility. I don't know the age on it, but it's really, really old. So we were aware of those issues. The distribution system was also showed a lot of age. The city had an asset management plan that was done by engineer Strand and Associates, listed a lot of water and sewer lines that have reached their useful life. It's not just the water line. When you look at the water line, there's valves, there's hydrants, right? Valves have about a 40-year useful life, hydrant about the same. So we started taking inventory of those. We kind of knew where we're at on useful life of those components. Wastewater plant, the biggest challenge that I think the city faced at that time was really, the plant was okay, you had some capacity there, but the capacity in the sanitary sewer lines is really a big factor. The lines in town are very small. For example, the line coming from the Sharp Avenue lift station is only 15-inch diameter line. And we have Oak Run, that's about an 18-inch line. When I was in Lancaster, our lines coming in were 54-inch and 48-inch. So you kind of know the size difference that we're looking at here. Obviously, building a wastewater plant is expensive. When you start replacing sewer lines, that's even way more expensive than that. Inconsistent operations, probably people that were around back then. I'm sure you receive a lot of water complaints from the water plant and a lot of mechanical failures due to the age and some factors on that. Drinking water supply and availability is something that we looked at and we continue to look at it every day. We'll kind of talk about kind of what we've done to kind of address some of that. So we went into this thing and saying, what's our immediate capital needs that we looked at? One, the first is the water reclamation facility. Again, the age we're at, we estimate about $1 investment is going to be needed just to upgrade that plant, change equipment, change drive units, and those things. That will not increase the capacity of the facility. That's just maintaining what we have. Crispin Avenue Water Treatment Plant. We commissioned a study on this facility probably 3 to 4 months ago. We looked at that from the aspect of source water, one. So The source water is your wells, and we have 6 wells out there, and you guys know where the facility's at. That's an issue in itself, because you're next to a railroad track, you're next to an electrical substation, you're next to a creek. That well field would never be permitted today. It'd never be permitted today. So that's an issue, and just the overall condition of the plant. The East Water Treatment Plant, we looked at that. We came on board. We believe that it could be operable. The Ohio EPA required a lot of additional testing at that facility. We also commissioned a study on that to see if that facility is really cost-effective to even operate. It's a ion exchange facility. You add salts to the water, and you treat it out in the system. At this time, we do not believe that plant is cost-effective to operate. Sanitary sewer system, again, size of and line capacities is an issue, and the water distribution system. We'll talk a little bit more about that, here in the presentation. Next thing is economic development. Again, at the time, you had a couple developments kind of going on. Luna Landing was one of them. It's pretty well built out, and now you have Johnson's Creek is another one, and you've got Madison Reserve as another one coming on fairly soon. We also know that the developer here has plans for about 4,500 homes and 5.5 million cubic feet of commercial and industrial development. Huge development. I mean, you're going to double the size of London overnight in the next 10 years. And our goal is always to reduce the burden on the ratepayers. We believe that development pays for development, right? So we don't want to put a sewer line or water line into development. We don't do all-site extensions for developers. We don't do that. We look at other ways to kind of get that revenue, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Our goal is always have development pay for development. And again, regulatory compliance, really drinking water is the one getting hit right now. You probably heard of PFAS, these forever chemicals that are in your drinking water. Really about the only way you can treat that is with an RO system. That we actually operate one in Mount Sterling, and we're looking at doing a couple of those here within the district. At the time, we looked at the benefits of regionalization, shared costs. Again, we'll talk about that here in a little while. Improve the efficiency. When we looked at that 2 or 3 years ago, how Mid-Ohio operates and how we're able to save costs, our operators are classified both as a water operator and wastewater operator. Almost all of our operators have a water license and a sewer license. So what does that mean? You go to a city, you have water operators, and you pay those guys, and you have your wastewater operators, right? So we don't have to pay 2 people to do the job, which is really an advantage for us. We need to take a guy or a person from, Plain City down here, we can do that. So that's a huge advantage that we realized early on. Better customer service. We continue to strive on improving our customer service. We made a lot of headway. We still have a ways to go. Focused leadership. That's always one they put in regionalization. Our board, we have a board trustee here tonight. Their only focus is water and sewer, right? You guys have parks and comp plans and police and fire, so we can focus only on one thing, which is water and sewer. Which probably, if you ask our board, that's enough for them. One of the things I hear a lot, and probably some of our board is, London, they gave away all their assets. They gave away all their assets, and what are we getting in return, right? All these assets were valued on the books at the time, I think, for about $40 million, somewhere in that range. So, in reality, Mid-Ohio also took on a lot of liabilities at the same time. And we knew this going into it. This is part of our decision-making process. So we took on about $40 million worth of debt. $18 million was current And the East Side Trunk Sewer, which we'll talk about a little bit later, is another $22 million project. So $40 million total that we took on. The aging infrastructure, we were aware of the condition of the facilities. We did our due diligence, fully aware of what we were getting ourselves into. Limited sewer capacity, we've been looking at that from day one. You have I&I issues here, like every other community in the world. Since nothing, even Choctaw Lake, when they put that in, you'll have no I&I problems, right? It doesn't work like that. A failing water distribution system. So your water system out there, your water lines and your hydrants, since June of 24, we've had 37 main breaks and 11 service line failures inside the city of London. That's a lot. So compare that to Plain City, we've had 2 main breaks in the same period of time. Now, I mean, it's nothing, I mean, no one, you can't do anything about that. The aegis system, pressures, and all kinds of things contribute to that. But, you know, it's just an indication that, you know, we have a lot of work to do out here in that distribution system. Expansion of Oak Run, we looked at that as well before the transfer agreement was ever signed and executed. We looked at it's the London wastewater plant, we call it Oak Run now. We thought, well, can we expand that plant? It's designed right now as at 5.8 million gallons a day. What would it take to take it up to 10 million? That's double the size, and that way Mid-Ohio could have brought their sanitary sewer flow into the facility. Well, engineering report came back at $200 million. So obviously that wasn't a really good option. People question, like, why was it so much? You know, we built the plant and it's expandable. Anything's expandable. The problem that we found is when they built the plant and designed it, if you needed a 12-inch pipe today, they put a 12-inch pipe in. They didn't say, well, in 20 years, you're going to need an 18-inch pipe or a 24-inch pipe. So that was a huge factor on why that cost was driven up so much when we looked at it. So some of the things that we've done since Mid-Ohio took on the assets of London, interconnections to the district water system, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. Reliable, safe drinking water, and avoid restrictions. I don't know if we've had any restrictions here in the city since we took over. A lot of reasons for that, operationally, and these interconnections will show here in a minute a big part of that. So in the past, when London had issues with their existing water plant, you know what happened? You know, they had to put out hard water quality went down, you know, a lot of complaints started happening. What we're able to do with these 2 interconnections, one's at State Route 38 by the old Board of Elections, and the other one's on State Route 36 by the prison. We put both of those in, the county put one in, we put one in. So when water's needed here in London, we open those valves and send water to the city of London. That's what we're able to do. So in 2025, we provided the city of London 65 million gallons of water just in that calendar year. And that was a lot of the old plant maybe had a breakdown, they couldn't provide soft water, a lot of different reasons why that happened. So if we were separated and the city of London was paying Mid-Ohio for that much water, it would have been over $500,000. So that's kind of gives you an idea of kind of what we're able to do. Real quickly, the prison, the old Springfield plant, what we call it now, is designed for 1.5 million a day, and the West plant is designed for 1.5 million a day as well. That's kind of why we get to where we got our water from to do this. I mean, mechanical failures at Christman, and we provide, it's the same treatment at the prison as it is in town. It's a lime softening plant. People usually would never even notice where the water came from. Actually, the water from the prison is a little bit softer than what we treat here in London. Water restrictions have now been required. If that interconnections were not here, you could see how we made up 65 million gallons of water. mean, it's almost impossible to do that. So the other thing we did for first week we took over operations, we raised the tower elevations, water elevations in your towers. So prior to us coming on, for whatever reason, they ran the towers at the bottom of your tower. So your million-gallon tower was probably holding only 500,000 gallons. So what does that affect? That affects your flow, and it affects your capacity and your pressure. The higher that water's in that tower, the more pressure you're going to have throughout your system. Equipment upgrades, we've done a lot here at the West plant. We did a leak detection program. We hired a company to come in and do every water line here in the city of London to see if there's any leaks. I think we had 7. They've all been fixed. But we'll probably do that every 3 to 5 years, just to go back and try to find our water loss. Hydrant flushing, I don't know when the last time it happened. We did it this year. And we do that every year. It may be twice a year, depending on how much, iron and everything we get out of the hydrants when we do the flushing. Wastewater treatment plant, Oak Run. We put some pumps in. We've had to do some piping changes. We finished a dewatering program that the city had started. Equipment replacements. And we've also done some evaluations on improve the process control. What that means is how we operate the plant. I mean, basically. And we've been able to reduce our solids output, which saves us a lot of money because you got to put that sludge somewhere, unfortunately. And that costs a lot of money to take care of that process. Currently, our economic development projects, we have the Deer Creek Water Reclamation Facility. That's the plant out there, Pier 70 and 42, Lafayette Plain City Road. That is designed to be a 5 million gallon a day wastewater treatment plant, expandable up to 15 million gallons a day. The Northern Water Treatment Plant is the Plain City area, 161 corridor. We're now in the design phase of a new water treatment plant in that area. They have an old facility designed for 1.1 million gallons a day. Our projections believe we need 5 million gallons of water a day up there in the next 10 years, just from development.
Did they get new approvals on that one? Because I was thinking that plant was having issues for development because of the size of it not being able to increase
That's
the
the wastewater plant.
wastewater. Okay, so it's just
Yeah. Storage expansion, water towers. When you put a 5 million gallon a day water treatment plant here in London, you really need 5 million gallons of water in the air, a water tower. That's how EPA, that's what they want. So right now we have really 3 million. If you add 2 here in London and 2 at the prison, so we know we have to build another 2 million gallon water tank, and they're between $9 and $10 million. System master planning, we look at all our maps, where's water going to be needed, how do we get it there, what's the most cost-effective way to get that done. We're also getting ready to commission a study for a London area water treatment plant. We're looking at expanding the facility at the prison. We have the land there, we have wells there, we have water there. We're working with some people that have a lot of water in that area too that could benefit us. That will probably be about the same size as the PE plant. And then sanitary sewer interconnections. Throughout the system, we're looking at, and this kind of gets complicated, but I'll try to do my best. I believe that the city of London's wastewater plant, now Oak Run, should really serve the existing boundaries of London. I think we have the capacity to do that. I think the plant can handle that. But if you start getting out in the areas that are looking to be annexed either now or in the near future, that will probably be going to the Deer Creek plant. And we have a plan. I'm not sure if I put it in here or not, but I'll try to explain that a little bit better here. Capital investment, everybody likes to talk about money. Next 5 years, we're looking at about investing $465 million. That's the wastewater plant, a force main from Plain City, 2 water plants, water towers, water lines, sewer lines, all that. Long-term, we're looking at another $355 million. You know, I project that the $465 million will carry us another 10, 15 years, even if development comes the way they think it's going to come. And now, if you get that big, you know, industrial user, that will throw everything off, you know, but right now we can't plan for that. Funding through multiple mechanisms. We had a meeting today with our financial advisor, Andy Broussard, and what we are going to do is look at every option to find revenue. TIFs, JETs, NCAs, all the alphabet soup, you know, that are out there. We can't put it on the backs of our customers. They can't afford that. New development, you know, our capacity fees are on the higher end. I'll put that out there. A residential sanitary tap capacity fee is $10,000, water $7,500. That all goes to new infrastructure. That does not go in our operating budget. So that is critical. We're getting ready to do a new rate analysis. A third-party company called Reftelis, national company that does water studies, to look at your rates, look at your future debt structures and things like that, and decide where you need to be today, where you need to be 5 or 10 years down the road. Because we don't, or I know doesn't want to come back and say we got to do a 50% increase. You know, it'd be better to do a 2 or 3 when you need to, not wait till that year you have to do something. So this is a little bit of a map. I got 3 maps. So this one really shows the east side trunk sewer. If you can make it out, there's a little green line on there, it goes along the creek. So that extends from US 42 to State Route 142. It will serve a lot of the new development out there, Johnson's Creek area. Buddy Wilson's got a development coming in. So this one that's been in place. If you can see, there's a pump station on the lower right up there. And the key to this pump station is we can send that flow either to London, or we can send it up to the new regional wastewater plant. And we designed that to make sure we don't over capacity this plant here in London because we have the room up there. It gives us options. And as an operator, I can tell you, you always want options. So this one, and we'll talk a little bit more about the east side trunk sewer here in a minute. And we also looked at this. We also looked at how we're going to serve all the way up to Simpson Road. That's in our service area. The whole county is. We want to make sure whatever we do, the east side trunk sewer can also serve or help serve all that area to Simpson Road and on the other side of the railroad tracks. Probably be industrial development on that side. So this is a wide aerial view of our sanitary plans we have today. We have the 161 corridor. That is part of the US 42 force main project, which is the purple line there. And then we get down to the London area, and we have a sewer line running across US 40 from 56 to 42. That line will help us take out our sewer district 2 plant that serves Choctaw Lake area. We just put in sanitary sewer in Summerford area. It was a low-income project. It was 100% funded by grant funds, so that was big for us. And eventually, we'll go up State Route 38 and tie in a lot of those homes that are on 38 that have no sanitary sewer service. Water kind of follows the same path, you know, more or less. You know, get started on 161. We have that water line. That project will actually begin probably in the next 2 months. It's been approved by our board. Funding is in place, ready to go on that to serve 161 corridor. That is 16-inch water main. And part of that project, phase 2, will be to install a water tower out there. It's a 2 million gallon water tower that we need for that area. There's a little yellow line that goes up 42. There's an industrial park in Plain City, 550 acre development there that we are going to serve. Again, the purple line on 42, when we acquired easements along that corridor, we got 30-foot easements. We did that to put a water line and sewer line in. We don't plan on doing a water line at the same time only because of cost, but eventually, I think that will probably be an interconnection that will need to be done. The good thing about it is, believe it or not, the water towers here in London can actually serve water in Plain City. It's all downhill that way. The black line, we actually put that system in 2022. There's about 8 miles of water line from the prison that runs up to 42 and 29. And then we have, a project from 38 to Summerford that is being ready to be designed as we speak. Funding strategy. So we have actually acquired, and then the county's been helpful with this. We have about $15 million worth of grants throughout our district. Some of it's in Plain City, some of it's with the county, but we've been able to really been successful getting grants. They're usually not big grants. They're $1 million up to $5 million if it's a department development grant. But, when you're talking, $400 million, we'll take whatever we can get. The big thing that we can do as a regional organization is apply for and receive 0% interest loans from the Ohio EPA. I think we have 4 of them right now that are 0% loans. That is tremendous help for our financial structure. Again, regional cost sharing. We look at everything as the district as a whole, and we'll kind of go over that here in a second, how we look at it. But right now, that's how we will probably structure most of these projects. And I think I got a couple examples here, hopefully. So the first thing that I looked at was, hey, let's look at the East Side Trunk Sewer. And we know the project cost, it's $22 million, $22.3 million. The loan interest right now that we can acquire is 3.4%. It's a 30-year loan. Your annual debt payment on that will be $1.19 million. So if we say, hey, let's just go ahead and carve that out and let's go to the city of London and they can pay for that. And that's the way it's set up right now. It's all based on user rates. So you have 4,000 customers. You divide that out. It's $24.88 for every customer every month to pay that debt. If we would spread it out over the entire district of 8,000 customers, it's half of that, a little less, $12.44. So that's one example of how we look at it to share across our whole district, not just say carve it out here, carve it out here, carve it out there. Another example that we look at, and we talked about this, we're going to build a 5 million gallon a day water plant here in London and one up in the Plain City area. $60 million. So we looked at capacity fees. So when we looked at capacity fees, they're all the same. Everybody pays the same. But we're building about 500 homes a year in Plain City. We've been averaging about 60 homes a year right now. So those capacity fees total $1.3 million for the London area and $11 million in the northern region on a 3-year basis. We have a large industrial user up in the Plain City area that has verbally committed to pay for half of the infrastructure up there. So $30 million. So then you take all that, and what's the loan going to be for these 2 plants? One would be $58 million, the other one $18 million. Your payments are $3.1 million for London one, $1 million for the north. So you're looking at, wow, that's a lot of money. So you're looking at $62.48 for the London area or $15 for the northern. If you look at it combined, everything together, you're at $34.78 for every customer throughout Mid-Ohio. So that's kind of how we look at it. Sometimes it's really kind of hard to separate, well, you're using water London, you're using water Plain City. It's convoluted at times. Another question I know that we've been asked is, hey, what's going on with the East Side Trunk Sewer? Originally, the City of London project started, I don't know how long ago. So we inherited that project. It's transferred to the district, went to the transfer agreement. We did the first bid in December of 2024. The engineer's estimate was 14.75 million. The one and only bid came in at $20 million. So we were not allowed by law to take that bid. It's got to be within 20% of the engineer's estimate. So we weren't even by law allowed to take that bid. So we believe with our engineer, Burgess and Nyepel, that look, everybody was so busy, contractors were busy, everybody was so busy, that's why we only have one bid. So we said, well, let's take our time, go back and bid it when we feel the time is right. So during that time, we also said, well, let's look and see, can we do it better? Can we do it different? Can we do it cheaper? And we looked at 3 or 4, probably 5, 8 options. You know, can we put the sewer here, pick up more service area? Can we put it here? Can we do it wherever? So the board decided, hey, we're going to keep it in the original spot where it was originally designed, which was shown on that map a while ago, that green line. And we rebid it here in February, and the project is $22.3 million. That includes engineering. So it's not a lot of difference from when we did it back in 2024. It's 22 million. The engineering, I think, is 1.6 million. So now we have that. We have secured all the easements. We have submitted the loan application to get the project started. We hope to get the loan award in May. And so we hope to get out there and start digging in June, July of this year. So, yeah, alignment, see, I'm already one slide ahead. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I mean, if you guys got any questions of us.
I didn't get your name.
Oh, Tom Taylor,
Okay.
Mr. Taylor, what's your,
Director.
East High Street plan, says it's not cost effective to use that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Was there a new well ever put in out there, or did they try to put in a new well?
There was a test well. It was found that there was ammonia in the well, but very small amounts. So we could probably develop that well. I think the cost on that well was like $2 million. Our concern really wasn't the well. The real problem is that plan was completed in 2015. So it's been sitting there for 10 years. You know, right? You have a car, it hasn't ran for 10 years. I wouldn't take it to California. So when we started trying to operate that plant, we found a lot of issues that needed addressed, like a lot. There's 70 automatic valves in that plant, 70. And they have to all talk together to the control system. Well, none of them was talking to anything. So I can't tell you what happened, but the end result is it would take a lot of work to get that thing back up and running. So it's kind of where it's a small plant. It's designed for 720,000 a day. We need 5 million, in total. And just the operational cost of it is kind of what led us to that decision.
I have another question. This concerns fire hydrant flushing in the condos. I was president of the board. I don't remember ever having a problem with that. I'm not on the board anymore, but just kind of hearing that you folks will not come in and flush the hydrants, is that correct?
Yeah, that is not our water line. It's a private water line.
Okay, so that's the reason that it's off limits to.
Yeah, we don't have an easement or access.
Okay. Is there any way that could be remedied?
I mean, the HOA could come and request that to our board. We would have no idea how it was built, was it bedded right? I mean, there's a lot of things we would ask, but it could be a request. Yeah.
Okay. I know there's a lot of concern about it, so I'll pass that on to the president.
Yep.
Let them know about that. Thank you for taking the questions, I
Hey,
appreciate it.
thank you.
Are you having any trouble with the Darby Accord? I know they're trying to get a new one on the other side of the river, and I know there's worried about Plain City.
Great question. All of the Darby. The Darby Accord has really delayed the Deer Creek project. It took 2 years just to get the facilities plan. It's called the 208 plan, where we got to go in and do all these things. We finally got that done. Took a lot of work, took a lot of effort. We had stakeholder meetings with the Darby Creek Association many times. So we kind of got past that hurdle. What's next, unfortunately, is they have a thing called Appendix 3.3 of the High Water Quality Standards, which really associates with the Darby. It doesn't affect us directly. It's more about setbacks and developments and, densities and all those things. However, Appendix 3.3 gives the Ohio EPA the ability to pressure Mid-Ohio to have local entities adopt that appendix. So that'd be Plain City and Madison County be your two big ones that would have to do that. We've had meetings with Ohio EPA, county, and Plain City. I think we're making headway on that, but there's some resistance. Obviously developers want to, they want density, they want, all that stuff. Totally understand. When it comes to the Darby, that document is the go-to.
That's another question. Columbus, Hilliard, and Dublin's all knocking on the Madison County's door up that way. Will that affect us at all, or I don't know if the county has anything against that or not? Or we don't have to serve them, will we?
Yeah, I know the county has concerns. We meet with the county every other week. They have concerns up there. We have, our 208 plan basically says, hey, Mid-Ohio has the right and authority to serve their area, right? Which is great. That's a great starting point. But if Dublin would come in and annex property into our area, they can serve that.
Mhm.
So that's the arms race, what we kind of call a lot of that. Very, yeah. And even the 161, there's their committee up there that includes county, Madison County, Union County, Marysville, everybody in that corridor, because everyone's kind of wants control of 161. And then you got to worry about the Darby Accord on top of that. So we're at the table. Our position is, we have the service area. It took us a lot of money and time to get that. We probably will never give that up.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
I know it affects all of us, I'm just interested.
Yeah, it's a puzzle.
Okay, thank you.
It's been a big puzzle. Yeah.
I have a couple questions. So I believe an email was forwarded to you, and you've answered some of those questions, especially about that, the trunk line and the cost of that. One of the questions, there's a gentleman sitting behind you that he wanted to ask the question that, it sounded like initially there was going to be a north and a south district, and it sounded like the financing or the funding for those projects would be designated to the north for Plain City and the south for us. But now it sounds like this is all combined thing, regardless. Is that true?
Well, that's kind of what our recommendation is from staff. We are going to do the rate study for Tellus to look at that. But again, there's just a lot of intertwining, like how do we know what goes to here and what goes to that direction? When I looked at the $465 million that was in the presentation, it was pretty well split between Plain City and London. It was not quite 50-50, but it was closer than what a lot of people would think.
When we talk about capacity, so before we joined Mid-Ohio, there was the discussion, there was going to be the plant that was built out on Shagbark Farm. There was a lot of pushback, and at one point during council, it was suggested by Mayor Klosser that they would just ask to bring that sewer down to us, and he really was way off on what he thought may be the numbers, because when you guys did that research, that $200 million is a big number. So we know that wasn't going to happen, but we still had capacity at that point. And that's at the plant level. You're telling me that the lines are awful small. Can our lines handle the development that's about to happen here, especially on East High Street and out on Betty Wilson Road, which is a condo group? those about 500 homes there. Can our lines handle that capacity? And if they can't, do you stop that?
So right now, you know where Amherst Pump Station is? You guys know where that is. It's right there on 42. We looked at the capacity of that. And then there's a northeast, northwest trunk sewer that runs through where Madison Reserve is being developed. So we looked at capacity of those two items. That's really what we gotta look at today. And we know we have about 1,044 units available, which means that could be 1,044 homes. It could be 1,000 homes and 44 units of commercial development. But that's kind of where we're at. So that kind of give you an idea. Now, the problem is the East Trunk Sewer is really a three-phase project. This is phase one. Phase two is some more work inside the city. Last was to go from the Sharp Avenue area and increase the size of that trunk sewer. Because we're building the east side trunk sewer, that lift station that can take it up to Deer Creek, we won't have to do that.
So that's a change from the original plan, because it was all gonna come south and tie in and go to our plant.
Correct.
So now you're gonna run that north, so that's
Yeah.
new information. When I went to your board meeting, one of my big concerns was the lack of communication to the residents, and I still think that was an issue. First of all, I wanna thank you for coming tonight. I really wish we would have had this conversation a year ago, after we joined and we could get an update. And I really hope somebody comes back on, at least on an annual basis, if not quarterly, to just tell us what's going on, because we don't know. And I really thank you for coming out. I understand you're retiring soon, so that's a shame, because I know that you really know what's going on. But I just want to know, has there been any more steps taken towards the communication and trying to fix that?
Yeah, so first, we really are pushing people to sign up on our website. And the reason why, you get an alert or email. So we have a water main break, and I'm on there, so I know everything that goes on. But you'll get an alert say, there's a water main break on East High Street. And it will try to tell you estimated time for repair. You know, and that's an estimate, let's say it's 3 hours. And then after that, you'll get an email or text saying, hey, the work is done. Oil advisory, you know, maybe, or start using the water, you're good to go. So we also have the one call, I think it is, that we have on our building system. The problem with that is, water breaks always happen at 3 o'clock in the morning, it seems like. So we don't have access to, our C&D crew doesn't have access to that. Now, when our building people come in, they can do that, but hopefully that repair's already been made and we're out of that area. But we're really trying to push people to our website. And if it's complicated, it's been a while since I signed up on it. If it's complicated, we need to fix that. I don't want it to be complicated. I want it to be pretty simple. Name, email, telephone number if you want to give it. And then every time we do, it's district-wide.
The other improvements to that were posting more through in-house staff through social media, and then creating the banners for the website if there is a water main break, if there is an issue. So if you are feeling like the community is feeling something isn't going on, they can immediately go to the website and they'll see a banner flashing that there is an issue if they have not signed up for the alerts.
Is that also how somebody would let you know that they think there's an issue? How does someone notify you if they have an issue?
So we have a 24-hour call center, 24/7. It's emergency number is what we call it. They call that number, and what happens then is the call center does a work order. That work order goes out to all our C&D people. So like, you have a main break here, they call, they do it, and then that takes care of it. And usually, we have a brand-new system, so I'm not as familiar as the old one, but you would receive an email, or I think it was an email. If you called in, you get an email saying, hey, we're on it, we're at the site, to get kind of updated when you would call in. That was really, really critical out at Choctaw Lake. We had individual grinder pumps, and that was very helpful at that point.
I can personally say I had a grinder pump go out during the last rainstorm, and I used that system, and then I got email alerted that they were acknowledging and somebody would be out.
I could ask a lot more, but I'm gonna stop with that for this tonight. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thanks.
I just had one more comment. We used to get such a, I live on the east side of town, and in the fall and sometimes when the wind changed directions, the sewer plant was terrible. But past year or so it has, I don't know if you're doing something new or keep it up.
Well, yeah, not to get.
You should fall would finally come along, you could open your windows and all of a sudden you have to run and close them.
Just real quick, so you know that thing looks like an egg?
Yeah,
That does all our sludge digestion and high temperatures and all that stuff. So it was out of service for probably 3 months last summerish. We only have one unit, which is kind of unusual. We usually have a backup. So then we had to land apply. We actually took a lot to the landfill. You know, we can't meet certain criteria. We can't put it on the land. We have to landfill it. So that's probably why it was worse last summer.
very appreciative of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you, keep it
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, well, I got just one or two for you, but yeah. Thank you again very much for coming on out and good to talk. One way, probably try not to, but he does do well. If you see water just running out of the street, sending him an email. We've dealt with you before there, and thank you very much. So yeah, the big one was the new development coming out towards 40, the industrial that's out there, the 3,500 homes, and possible constraints it might put on London. It does sound like that is approved and housing and items that are coming our way then already, or how do you see those projects right now?
So if you're talking about the one by our wastewater plant that we're building, I mean, that's one of them.
Yeah.
Out across from Farm Science Review, that type of
Oh,
area industrial there and right outside of London is what I'm talking about. Nothing within London on this one. It
Okay.
was,
so, you know, I think the only thing that's been approved by council is probably Madison Reserve, Johnson's Creek Phase 2, I think London Landing's done. Yeah, we're fine with that. You start getting out to a big industrial development, I mean, that would be a concern. We have to look at that. We can't.
that was my main thing, was actually a comment of yours that said,
Yeah,
this 3,500 homes that are approved, it has brought up a concern for London's water capacity. And so
Yeah.
that's the ones I'm talking about, nothing that we've already, the 1,600 we already have set and ready going.
that's off a developer's takedown schedule. So we get that because we have to plan, right? So we know, man, we got to do something because these are coming. It takes 3 to 4 years to build a plant. That's why we're starting now to.
10 years, that's kind of what I'm seeing, is,
Yeah.
you know, hey, 10 years though, that means we're gonna see houses all the way out to the truck stop.
Mhm.
We're gonna see industrial complexes across from Farm Science Review there, that field will be gone. And so that's the big part where, you know, having Mid-Ohio that is controlling this, it's a big part where, I know we talked and it was, hey, we are interested in this development, and I'll say as we kind of discussed all of this, I didn't see very many friendly faces going, yes. We like our fields and everything else, and so this is kind of a tough fact to hear that, hey, maybe 10 more years it might be going. You don't really think, hey, that's not very long, but even just for myself, it's, hey, I'm getting back into coaching this year, and it was 11 years ago that, hey, I'd got myself out of it, and so it still feels like yesterday. You know, we're gonna get to that point where, where'd this come from all of a sudden, and kind of watching that, but at the same time, kind of, is that something we should be getting ready for then, it sounds like?
Oh, we're already doing that.
So it's all,
Because we believe even the Plain City area water plant, we don't think that's gonna be ready till 2029, early 2029. Actually, the wastewater plant, mid-2028. So, you know, that, and we tell every developer that, we can't do anything till then, you know? Because we can't tax especially our water system anymore than what it is, right? And we are concerned about the peak days, daily flows, when it's, you know, April, that's not a big deal. Our daily average is probably about 1.6 million a day. When those peak days, I mean, it'll go up to 3 million. You know, Plain City's even worse because the developers up there tell the new homeowners, you guys gotta water that sod 24/7. And our usage just goes through the roof up there.
And that was another part that kind of popped up. Thank you very much for the 37 breaks. That has kind of been a curiosity with seeing that. Do you have any numbers on how it had maybe looked since 21, 22, 23? Because I hadn't heard quite that many, but it was when we put in the $500,000 pipe for adjusting the pressure from the Madison County water coming in. You know, that was supposed to help relieve that issue, but once we kind of opened it on up instead of an emergency issue kind of time, it seems we've seen a lot more of those breaks. Do we think any of that's
Yeah, there's
contributed to that pressure?
There's a pressure reducing valve that is at every interconnection. There's a meter there and some other things, but we dial that pressure in, we can do it. I can do it from my phone right now if we wanted to. We know that our towers at the prison sets way higher than London, so we can't just put it out there and it'd probably blow,
Yeah.
people off, So we have pressure reducing valves. We actually have one too from the prison that goes across 40, and we have one right by Beck's Seed. Our pressure will reach 80 PSI right there because it's all downhill. So we have a pressure reducing valve there. So when it gets to our tower on 42, it's where we want it to be.
Because, yeah, that was kind of a big part of, it didn't seem we were having this many infrastructure issues until we really tapped that into us and started using it as a main source. But that was another kind of part with the just dues and kind of fees on how we're going to do this. Will London have any kind of credit towards our rates being increased for the prior $13.5 million that we did approve in 2023 for the project for the storm sewer line or sewer trunk line on that one?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have an answer for that one.
I mean, a lot of that is going towards that, what those user in rates have been paying for are going towards the 22 million, even though it was originally quoted at the 14 million. So that is still going towards it, and then we're using our other investment strategies so that we can recoup that other for the $22 million, and as well as capacity fees from development.
Was there any kind of answer on why it was closer to around 20 million in 24? I think you said you had it checked out instead of the projected 13.5, $14 million that we had told us.
I think because we only had one contractor, to be honest, our belief is they're pipe people, right? So we put pipe in the ground and we had a lift station to build. Well, they were pipe people. They're not experienced in building. I mean, it's a massive lift station. It's 150 horsepower pumps in there, right? So we believe they probably showed up at the bid, right? Didn't see anybody else there, and would just write down, whatever. Not saying that happened, but, it was surprising to us. And then we come back to this one, so the numbers are about the same, which is good to see, but we had a lot more action on this one too. I think we had 7 or 8 pipe companies. The actual contractor that got the bid for the lift station is our contractor on our Deer Creek wastewater plant. So that helped lower that price a little bit. I think that was $7.3 million just for that.
Would you be able to send over the 2024 bid possibly? Am I able to ask or request that guy just to see
Yeah,
kind of who
it's
sent
pretty-
that?
It won't take much.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, looking into those, kind of seeing, hey, what are we paying for? Because if we're causing a water shortage by the expansions and additions that Middle Ohio's kind of putting out there, even for the other treatment plant that we had with the chemicals for the ammonia, I know we had approved $750,000 for that guy back then also. It was part of that whole large chunk that we increased everyone's rates for. And so to kind of hear, hey, we might have issues with water supply while this project hasn't gotten going, it's interesting to hear hey, it was out of date, now that facility was an old facility. I know we barely even talked about joining Mid-Ohio until I had gone through our sewer treatment plant and seen that, hey, we were at 50% capacity, so we could double our size in London. But that's where there was a lot of confusion because, hey, how are you having storm sewer flooding? But the two are not related. And so that's where people think, well, I don't know if we have capacity. We had plenty of capacity.
Yeah.
The plant, we had actually put a brand-new holding tank, I think, over at the Chrisman Avenue one we were getting ready to build
Yeah, we were-
also
yeah,
there. Yep,
yeah.
and so we had done that. We had $700,000 for the new sledge press that you guys have now that,
Yes.
hey, glad it's helping operations, but yeah, that was more items that was supposed to be covered by our BPU, but had council actually take a load out for at the time. And so, there's a lot of things that, it's questionable when you say, hey, you're raising our rates for facilities that are possibly outdated or not quite the best, when they're not bad. You know, I'll say that much. As far as us covering London, you know, we had most of our stuff going, I felt kind of well, besides the storm sewer. That was one. But the biggest piece is this sewer trunk line. The one that is my biggest concern for the sewer lines, you said 15-inch. Would that be the one coming down through East High Street?
Yeah, it
Here.
comes from Sharp Avenue and comes directly into the wastewater treatment plant.
And that's the one where we are having numerous amounts of people with flooded basements that's not storm sewer. And to say that, hey, we're trying to now figure this out, helping the other developments, that was an issue that, hey, we are developing it. We are around more 90 to 100 houses a year that we're actually building. And so having that added on for the last 2-3 years now without a project that we were told in December of 2023 would start in April or March, it's upsetting to see that, hey, this project could be done. These people would be saving house issues. They'd be having actual correct facilities, and not being able to flush toilet paper is an issue. And so having these things, but hearing that, yeah, it's a 15-inch pipe that we're sending all of it through, I'd say that kind of shows an issue there, or that so.
Yeah, you know, I is difficult, you know, stormwater should be taken care of by storm sewers,
But we're getting there.
not by sanitary.
That's good. Yep.
And, you know, you know, we have a lot of work ahead of us. So when you think about the system, it could be impacted by something 5 streets away, you know, and just once it gets to that one point. It's just go around. The other thing too, as far as development, we don't.
we died.
Our goal is to, and our duty is, okay, they'll come to us and say, hey, can you serve 1,000 homes? Or whatever the number is, can you serve this data center, can you serve whatever, like, our job is to say, yea or nay, we can. Even in Plain City, go back around, when they were out of sanitary sewer capacity, they went and told the EPA, hey, we're gonna go to wastewater plant, 1.25 million plant. So the EPA immediately approved, permit to install and develop. For one shovel in the ground to expand that wastewater plant into that capacity. That's difficult, very difficult. You never want to get in the same position. Work the city, work the county, the city to make sure that means that constantly what the plan is. When we look at a new wastewater plant, a water plant, first thing we do, we look at the comp plan. Comp plan was, you know, what is your expectation? What are you supposed to do? How many employees can you do? And that's what we do. And it's all projections, I get that. That's the best we have. What we base our rates on, that's what we low on, our construction costs. So, we have a pro forma for both water and wastewater, we constantly update that. Update that again probably in the next 2 or 3 months. So, yeah, we constantly have to look at that. You're looking at the debt that we're facing.
Well, yeah, and just kind of, hopefully we're recognizing that, that's my biggest thing for our representatives between both of us is, you know, actually having someone that's saying, you know, London has increased our rates specifically for these projects already. And now we're coming back and saying, hey, we need more money. And now it's not even a chunk of that money, it's, hey, that whole project is coming back to us again in some way or another, it seems.
Users at the moment, that we need more money. We haven't said that. That has not come back. We are looking at a reason.
You might need.
Correct, but that, we have not come back with that.
Do you think it's a
We're-
good possibility, though, for,
As we look at with our consulting group on that,
thank you much. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Well, thank you two for coming out tonight.
Thank you.
Appreciate the update. audience concerns, we have Doug Powell. So you can state your name and address for the record, please.
My name's Doug Piles, I live in 323 Bishop Drive. I won't take this that long, but I'm here to talk to the council with regard to how you people are handling this sanitation issue that the city's working on.
Could we,
First off,
I'm sorry, Mr. Piles, I don't want you to get too far in. Could we check his mic? Because I do believe it's off. I want to make sure we hear you. Thank you very much. And so, yeah. My apologies, Mr. Piles.
I don't want to stop that train.
The battery died, sorry.
before I go on, I have a couple comments following the last presentation that I do know about. One thing is that we were told when the presentation was made to the council and BPU about taking over, they stated that the district was going to be divided into the north and the south, divided by 70. All work that's done in the north is going to be paid by the property people up there. In other words, London is not going to be supplemented by our rate structure to pay for all the work that's being done in the Plain City area. And all their major work and their capital investment is all in the Plain City area. They're running a water line out 61 towards Dublin, and nobody's tying into it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that out on Kenny Road, there are 350 households out there in those condominiums that are paying water and sewer bills for theirs. And we have been told by Mid-Ohio Water and Sewer District that we are all responsible for the water and sewer maintenance. We have to pay to have our hydrants flushed. And up until now, the city of London always provided that service. The fire department would come out and flush the hydrants. And sometimes the water department would come out and flush them. They won't do it. We have to hire somebody. We're paying their rates. We have to hire somebody to come out and take care of flushing the hydrants. That's wrong. That is wrong. And I think that needs to be preserved legally. That's, you know, why? There's 350 houses there, all paying these rates. The other thing is, I'm here to talk about the sanitation program. First off, you council voted without the information to shut down the London Sanitation Service. Without having detail, you made the decision, we're going to go ahead and shut it down. Even though you had no idea what the costs were involved in that, you had no idea what the rates are, so on. The second thing you did as a council, you appointed the safety service director to go out and get bids and sign contracts for that service. And the council has no say on that. For any contract that is major, that affects something for the 10,000 people living in this town, don't you think you should review the contract that they're talking about? Don't you think you should have something to say about that? What's to prevent this contract coming in and it's going to cost property owners $20 more a month? You going to settle for that? You're supposed to be representing the property owners here and be responsible for that. But you have delegated all that to the safety service director, who is an unelected person. You are the elected people to represent the thing. I say you people need to review any kind of contract. You must put approval on that contract, and you must approve the rate. The city council forever has always voted and approved any rate increases, whether it's for water, sewer, sanitation, whatever. The council always had to approve that and vote on those increases. But here, you have not retained that ability to vote on that. That's wrong, guys. You're not representing us then by reviewing something as major as that, nor control how much it's going to cost me to have my trash picked up. You don't know whether they're going to have bulk pickup. You have no ideas yet about it. And I think you council members, from me and all the residents, need to have some input and review that contract before it's signed. But the resolutions that you voted on, you've already authorized that safety service director, who is a non-elected person, to sign the contract. That's wrong. That's wrong. This is major. Anybody have any comment about that? It's your responsibility.
Well, I'll comment. First of all, that part is on third reading tonight to allow for that. So that hasn't actually passed yet, but it's on third reading tonight. And the second part is I agree that I think we should review the contracts. So I agree with that I think we should have that opportunity to do that before anything goes through.
I think there's a resolution on for third reading, though, that doesn't allow the board to review that. It's very simple, the wording in the resolution. So unless you change something, unless you revise that resolution to have the presented to the board, the council for review and okay. Anybody else have any comment about my concern? That bothers me. That bothers me. Sorry.
Thank you. On to committee reports. Greg?
Wow, I hate to give a long report. Better? All right. We're going to give this the short version of the committee report. We did meet our revenue and expenses. Our expenses year-to-date are higher than our revenue, but most of that has to do with the police department. Okay, that may have helped a little bit.
Sorry, I thought it might work.
Well, it seems maybe a little bit better until now. Well, there's a lot of things we discussed. Most of these things are going to come up tonight. Most of these things, yeah, I was wondering. Let's try that. Hey, look at that. The IT department showed up. Thanks. Most of the items that were brought forward are going to come up tonight in either new or old business. Just a couple quick items I want to bring up. There wasn't a question about an audit lately, or last year, the audit that came kind of late. Most of that's already been discussed in previous council meetings on things that they've taken care of already. And a couple of those items, like the super blanket, that's going to come up in new business tonight. We've talked about gas aggregation. We think that people might be interested in that. That's going to be an issue that has to go to the ballot. Beyond that, I'm going to leave it, the rest of it. Our next meeting is May 11th, 5:30 p.m. In the conference room next door. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa?
I attended the Public Service Committee meeting, and I have the Street Department report. And again, I'm going to try to keep it kind of short, but one thing that was brought up at this meeting that did not make it to tonight's agenda is the Street Department wants to sell by sealed bid 3 pieces of equipment, 2 very old dump trucks and an old Durapatcher that are no longer being used. If we sell those, we can also stop paying the insurance on those items, and that will be up at the next council meeting.
Thank you. Rich?
I had a previous engagement, so I wasn't at the safety committee meeting. Mr. Hitt will give the report, but the next meeting is May 12th at 6 p.m. in conference room next door. Thank you.
Thank you. Andy?
I attended a Public Service Committee meeting this past Tuesday. The Safety Service Director discussed the sidewalk process report and online training. sanitation bids, and the verbiage was, a few changes were made in the verbiage for the bids, and the draft will probably be done this week. The building repair for the sanitation building is still in the process. Mr. Boyd brought up ambassador program for the parks, which is basically volunteers to kind of monitor the parks. And Porta Johns at the dog park, and then Porta Johns at Merrimack. And then as far as business coming to the future council meeting, we talked about appropriating funds for expanding the parking lot by the pool and making repairs to existing parking lot. And then we talked about legislation that Lisa referenced as far as the sale of some street department equipment. And the next Public Service Committee meeting is May 12th at 5 p.m. in the meeting room next door. And then I also attended the Public Safety Committee meeting. Safety Service Director talked about proof rolling the area that will be the parking lot or asphalt covered by the new police station. Talked about recovering funds for the snow event that we had this past winter to reimburse the city for some of those costs. We also talked about retiring officers being able to acquire their weapons and badge, and same for the fire department, and that legislation would be coming to the next council meeting. So, as Rich said, the next safety committee meeting will be May 12th at 6 p.m. in the meeting room next door. That's it.
Thank you, Shannon.
Most of the things that we discussed in Finance Committee, which was held on April 6th, are coming up on the agenda shortly. One exception is we did have some proposals, dollar figures to look at an upgrade on the sound system, which I think after tonight is going to be a very welcome item. So it's in the works, people.
Thank you, Tommy.
All right, I went to public service, and I'll be giving the Parks and Rec kind of go over. The pickleball courts are up and going. I don't know if there was any other big put out there yet from our Parks and Rec department, but those guys are getting finished up, or are finished up, and people are out there playing on them now. So yes, a big one that we are looking into and we'll be seeing later tonight is expansion of the parking lot down there at Park Ave, and that coming to us also. Hoppy Hour went very well. 200 to 300 people out there chasing around eggs, having a good time. So glad to hear that went well. Adult sports leagues that are coming up. We have slow pitch softball, co-ed Sunday afternoons, and men's Thursday evenings. The co-ed is June 7 and the men's begins June 4th. Sand volleyball is $125 a team. Co-ed Sunday afternoons beginning July 12th. Pool is opening up May 23rd, so get ready. I'm excited. New hours will be 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. So it goes a little later, I think it is, than usual, but changing that up. Social media posts going out with the pricing and making sure that everyone is getting registered this year. If you are going to the pool at all, you will need to register. And there are links online through our website that we had that will help lead you to making sure you get registered. So when you show up to the pool, it's easy to get paid and head on in. Other than that, we did talk about the ambassador program a little bit. We were hoping that maybe we could look into something for, hey, offering out to families that may pick up trash, keep an eye out for things or issues around the park with maybe a family pool pass, but hopefully we can progress on that one a little more as, hey, a thank you towards those people. Last part is, getting money back for record cold temperatures that we were top 10 in the whole state during that whole long charade. So glad to get some money back from it. And that is all for me.
Thank you, John.
Okay. I have the police report from the Public Safety Committee briefing. Building construction is progressing with exterior siding installation completing above the ceiling mechanicals and preliminary grade work. There is a substantial failure of the proof roll testing for the parking lot, which alternate fixes being explored. The current schedule for completion is July, with the building dedication set for July 30th. The chief took Andy and I through the other night, and it's very impressive. Don't look that big to look at it, but it's very nice inside. I have to be impressed. We are currently hiring for an open position, and applications are being accepted until April 30th. SSD has posted for the position of chief of police for internal applications, with anticipated applicants to complete an assessment center on May 30th. LPD participated in the dedication of a new range at Opata, as well as attending the groundbreaking of a new evidence building at the BCI. The newest cruiser was upfitted and placed in use. The replacement MTDs were also upfitted and placed in service. LPD participated in a full schedule training exercise conducted by the LAPC held at Nissen Chemical. The first quarter stats, January through March: 1,616 CFS, 277 incidents reports, 337 traffic stops, traffic citation events 24, parking citation events 60, and 60 traffic crashes. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. On to city official reports. Pat, do you have anything? Steve?
Everything I had was covered by you guys.
Okay, thank you.
Good question on everything.
Kenna? Okay.
I had one pop up possibly that I just kind of caught the other day about sidewalk over on Tolling, or from Tolling to about the flower shop. Is it okay if I ask? Or you want me to save that for? Yeah, it was just kind of the sidewalk from Tolling down to the flower shop over there on Center, I believe it is. Half the sidewalk has been pulled out, kind of dug out for a gas line over there. And I mean, that's a good couple blocks. Is there any kind of update on, are we gonna just say that is the responsibility of the homeowner to fix that, or how are we gonna deal with that? Have we, any heads up, I guess?
You're saying that's from the current project that's going on right now for the gas, Columbia Gas, what they're doing? Well, that'll be their responsibility to fix. I'll look and see. I'm not at all familiar. It's exactly what you're talking about. But if Columbia Gas calls a disturbance with their gas line project going on, they would be responsible for remediating any of the damage or the changes.
I'll take it. Okay. Thank you much. That's all for me.
Okay, on to old business, up for a third reading. Resolution 126-26. Could I get a motion to read by title and number?
So moved. Second.
Resolution 126-26, sponsored by Andrew Hitt, a resolution approving the comprehensive plan.
So this relates to the presentation that we had earlier, the comprehensive plan for the City of London. And this is a third reading, but I don't know if people still have questions regarding this. So I'm not sure what we want to do.
Well, obviously, I had a lot of questions, as I told the gentleman, but they're very, down in the detail questions on a lot of the things. I guess my big question now is, when we approve this, how does it get used by council? How does it get used by the administration? Or do we just pay $82,000 for a document that's going to sit there and not get used? So I'm just curious what the process will be from here on out and how we use it.
The plan, I mean, it's a guide to help council and administration.
So should we bring up ideas, I guess? Sorry. Should we bring ideas forward to council and administration from this plan to have done, such as the signage? Like I said, that's one of my favorite things, who's going to say, hey, here's what we want to create, saying go to Merrimack Park this way, Cowling Park this way.
I mean, that'd be something you'd bring up at the committee meeting. Like,
Planning committee or?
no, like signage, that'd be public service, yeah. Yeah,
And part of the comment is these
off that, hey, this is supported in the comp plan. You know, it follows that direction. I always talk back in my first meeting I attended, I said the same thing, but we're building, not necessarily about the comp plan, but as we develop plans for improving our buildings, that we're moving down a path. There's something new comes up, press, but that helps provide that path to move forward. Doesn't mean things can't be added, and I think you meant that, I think there should be changes. Our environment, our community changes. When things come up, they want to do something, it's referenced in the comp. Did here in reference grants and other issues I actually used that was in our proposed comp plan when I wrote a letter supporting for the purpose of the rate. It's used to support, say, our community support. There's a number of ways it can be used. Doesn't mean everything has to be done, and sure doesn't mean what's gonna happen right now. Those are things. Projects, as we make improvements to the city, as projects are done, as things come forward to planning and so, for new projects, this would be implemented, whether it's through the administration, different departments would do it.
And that was going to be, actually, is one of the main comments, is just kind of that understanding that this, you know, these items are going to take precedent over much else that, hey, kind of, we'd like this or that. If it's in this plan, then yeah, that's something we should be focused on, and just exactly what you're saying. I'm just agreeing with you that, yes, this is our master plan, that, hey, if it's in here,
Comprehensive plan to help provide guidance. It doesn't say we are supporting these documents to, projects go forward. Projects have to develop. Doesn't mean, oh, we have to do this before we do something else. Our city intends to grow. Or, like, I think people look and say, hey, it said that in plan, we have to do that next. It is not a timeline, it's not a specific guide that says we have to do each of these. It's saying this is the plan higher as we move forward. I don't think there's anything that says, oh, we have to do this before we have to.
and that's, nope, I agree with you. And just kind of, but listening to, yes, how this kind of directs it is what I was hoping we would be listening to, because I know a big one for me is, we kind of brought up, well, how would council like to go into the whole recreation center and community center? And that's something that wasn't one of our first things that even mentions in here 4 years down the line. I'm not hoping for that. But, you know, taking care of the main things that it does say first, such as offering the same amenities, such as bathrooms at both Merrimack and Cowling Park, I would hope we're getting that covered before going into true depths of finding that community center and getting those things done. Following those simple guidelines at least.
And I would suggest that at every level, those things, so it comes up in the committee makes a recommendation that we take finance for funding for it. It's gonna come before different committees, it's gonna come before council. And when we look, and Mr. President, I think you just said it, all of us would be using that support. Keep in mind, the other part of that is that there still has to be funding available, there has to be the right time, the priority.
Yep.
I mean, I think what you're saying is right, but you make that determination we're going to fund. The funding priorities at that time.
Do we think that will cause any confusion if each one of us is able to just start kind of saying this thing? And that's where I kind of have looked into or brought up the committee idea. Having a group of individuals that are kind of watching this or reviewing, hey, is this new development following along with this plan? A more specific group that's, hey, saying help move this plan forward. Nothing like that.
Comprehensive plan is just a vision.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
you guys will continue to do what you feel is right. You feel is right. Especially when it comes to funding. I think when we talk about committees, I think service committee and the same. Rural city council.
All right on that. My only other question was when it came to the residential future place typologies, this is one of the couple at least that I will touch on. It looked like it has suburban neighborhood area over where our sanitation dump is currently. Is that an area that's getting ready to be opened up for development again, or was either the picture or something? Page 97? No? Okay, never mind. So, yep. Other than that, we're good.
Any other questions?
there's no way of anybody sneaking anything past this if it's approved. I mean, it has to go through a committee. If it's housing, it's going to have to go through zoning. Well, I'm just, that's what I'm saying. I think this is laid out that nobody's, there's a lot of safeguards in place to take care of whatever needs to come up. That's what I'm trying to say.
You're approving or not a vision of where we think our community's going for the next decade. And where the things that we think, the vision that we have today of the kind of projects we want to have. Again, you talk about tracking it, looking at where we're at, but the other is making changes. So economics, development, a lot of things make changes to say. You brought up the, take care of our parks versus building a new rec center. That can't get snuck in. You're not approving any project with the approval of this, but you're approving it as a vision. All those projects would still have to go through the exact same process. We would use the comp plan as one of our justifications, but that does not change. It doesn't hold you to, you have to approve it. It doesn't set a timeline that says, oh, you have to do it. It's just, hey, this is part of the vision. We're bringing it forth as part of that plan.
Yeah. Right.
There's
And
nothing that requires you to approve anything.
right, and that's what I said at, well, I don't know. Oh, you weren't at the last council meeting. I might have said at that. I'm just reading it word for word from what I said. A comprehensive plan is a visionary guide and a working document. The plan does not change current zoning laws, set a legal precedents, and clearly states a plan does not negate local regulations. So you still have to go through all the processes of anything that wants to be done.
So, Rich, here was a thought. I think it's something that we would all look at that and say, why would we really want to do that if they wanted to, in their plan, create parallel parking along all of Main Street and then put a bike path in, and in one of their plans, they even had the tree islands in the middle of the road, right? And that would be something that I don't know that we would ever really consider. It's in their plan, but I don't know that we would ever really consider that because of the pushback. Now, there's good points to it or not, but I think we'd all have to consider that later.
If we don't like it, we don't approve it.
That was another one of the issues, though, is I didn't really see anything that said how to increase the parking downtown, actually. With those ideas, it said that it would take away 20% of the parking spaces down there, I think it was. And so, that's kind of another large piece that we have it. It looks nice, but it doesn't fix the actual issue that we have right now, which is the lack of parking downtown.
Well, the comprehensive plan is not also going to address every issue of everything that's going on or every idea that someone has. I mean, you got to think if that was it, it'd be a set of encyclopedias if we put every single thing in there. But those things can be discussed by any committee like you guys are doing now. If you have an idea on how to increase parking downtown, bring it to committee, call us, let us know, let's talk about it. But you can't put every single thing into a comprehensive plan.
All right, and I think the last other thing that Mr. Hayes was possibly talking about was the development characters for the commercial corridor, that it says 2 to 6 stories possibly. And yes, nothing is changed within the ordinances or codes from this plan. It is more of a, hey, used for developers to say this is in there and making it a reference.
If somebody came and had a 4, 5, 6-story development they wanted to go through the exact same process, it would have to go to planning. After it goes to planning, it would come to council for approval, would run through committee the same ways. If it doesn't clear planning, you don't see it. If it does, you guys have the chance to reject that at any time. It's just a projection of the type of growth that we may see into the future.
Because we never know what's going to come, right? Our zoning code says, like, the highest you can go is 3 stories. Do I want a 6-story apartment building? No. If someone comes in and says, we want to build a 4-story office building where everyone's going to make over $200,000, would we maybe think about that? I mean, for what the tax dollars would bring in, if a office complex came in and said, well, we want to make it 4 stories, there's going to be 300 jobs and they're all going to pay over $200,000. Like, I think we would want to sit down and consider that, right? But currently, this does not change the zoning code. This does not mean that there's 6-story apartments coming in. It does not mean that.
Thank you, and it takes my own point of, I don't really mind what the price is. I enjoy the fields more than anything, so jobs are not, unfortunately, I feel that's a large piece of London. And so kind of keeping track of that would be better, but that's all I have.
Well, I understand. I mean, this is an ag area. But to say, I guess we could talk offline, but to say that if they were going to bring in 300 jobs that pay $200,000, I think it would just be tough to say no. But everybody can have their own opinions and enjoy the open fields, and that's fine. But also, those things are zoned for certain things also. So.
I'd like to move for adoption.
Second.
Councilwoman Trainer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jackman,
Yes?
Councilman Stahl,
Yes.
Councilman Hitt,
Yes.
Councilman Eads,
Yes.
Councilman Boyd,
Yes.
Councilman Hayes.
Yes.
Resolution 126-26 has passed. On to ordinance 127-26. Could I get a motion to read by title number?
So moved. Second.
Ordinance 127-26, sponsored by Shannon Trainer, an ordinance amending Section 289 of the Codified Ordinances.
So this is specific to historic downtown restoration, revitalization, and amending the codified ordinance sections on how any available funds can be accessed by that group. Prior ordinance read that it had to be approved and was for reimbursement only, and this modifies that language so that it is simply, so long as the request for funding aligns with the purposes of the Historic Downtown Restoration Commission, then it could be approved once it goes through the proper channels. I'd move to adopt.
Second.
Councilman Hayes,
Yes.
Councilman Boyd,
Yes.
Councilman Eads,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jackman,
Yes.
Councilman Hitt,
Yes.
Councilwoman Trainer,
Yes.
Councilman Stahl.
Yes.
Ordinance 127-26 has passed. On to resolution 128-26. Could I get a motion to read by title number?
So moved. Second.
Resolution 128-26, sponsored by Andrew Hitt, a resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into contract for trash pickup and related services.
So this would allow the Safety Service Director to enter into contract for bids related to privatization of sanitation. And we had the union representative come in and presented a paper that said something about the Ohio Revised Code, that it was ability of the Safety Service Director to accept bids and contracts. Was that correct?
I don't remember exactly what his section was, but I have yet to have one that you authorize, that you assign to me without authorization. If we're gonna change the process and you guys, like this, will take months longer, that's what you want to do. But same thing, that means every time we pass, you guys are gonna review. I think we have a separation of responsibilities there. I will look at a bid, no matter what it is, it has to be within a certain percentage amount. To deny it, we know what we think our cost is gonna be. We know what we want to charge. If it's $20 off, it's Mr. Powell, like, I'm not gonna accept that.
Also, I would assume if there were an issue with the bid or some of the language in the bid, that was a legal question, you would take that to law director, right? And for clarification on that front, and if it was completely off base, bid rejected, right?
Correct. And I've met several times with the law director on specific language, and final language is finished, she'll have the final. Before we send it.
Is there any reason you would take a higher quote than another that might be lower than it?
So there is a provision that says we take the lowest and most responsible bid. So I don't know how to give you an example of that, I would, but, there is, I am permitted to take a higher bid based upon something better service. I don't know how to better explain that, but let's say there's a company that comes in that has 3,000 people who's never done anything our size, that would be an example. They don't have the experience to do it, that might be an example.
Yes, you're good. That's all I need.
Councilman Hitt, you mentioned earlier, and this was the first I heard about this, that, and he just mentioned again, that this has actually not been put out to bid yet, is that correct?
I believe you were working on it this week, drafting a,
I can't put the bid out until I have a date that I can establish it. I think I explained that in the last one. So part of the bid defines when the contract is, I have to notify them, and if I'm not. I have a plan to move forward, but like, say you're saying when they're gonna take over those services, and right now, I have a plan to move forward no matter what happens tonight. But that will still impact the long-term of what it is.
But how does, just a question, how does this change that? Because you can put a date in at any point when you write it up, correct?
Well, if I put a date, we sign it, and you don't permit me to accept it, and I say July 1st, and you guys don't allow me to permit me to do it, and we go on and on and on, it could be, it could literally be October, so, no, you could, you then would have to go back to accept the bid, and it takes time. Not, council would have to take action to accept it, it could be 3 or 4 readings in that first day. There's tremendous impact with doing it. I'm not gonna tell you how to do your job. I would challenge if we do this every time, the city runs into this. We discussed last time that we could discuss this offline, not one phone call from anybody to talk about that. I'll be glad to sit, I'll go over the plan, I'll go over what our bid specs are. But anyway,
My only piece to add in was that the union rep was there just to say that council could vote it down, but this would change that part. And so that's what, they were there kind of supporting the sanitation department, saying that, hey, we'd be able to shut it down possibly, and that's where they'd be all right with their positions. But that's all I was putting on that.
I move that we,
Can I ask a question, Ms. Exter? If there are concerns about the bid, why has nobody called me with those concerns to discuss it at the right? Hey, what are we doing this, we doing that? Other than, and Greg, I give you credit, you asked 2 or 3 questions last time, which were fair. But if there's concerns, why are we waiting until I put the bid out as opposed to let me make the bid? That's unfair.
And the other thing is, council passed legislation to privatize, to go out.
I think we need to remember as well that we cannot get a real bid from these other companies until we commit to privatize. Now, Safety Service Director Saltzman does have the prices that the Plain City was quoted when they recently put theirs out for bid, so he knows a ballpark figure of where we should be, and I'm certain that if theirs was $21, we're not going to accept, he won't accept a bid if it comes in at $50. I mean, the man has some common sense, and we would go back to some other discussions if all of the bids that we get are going to quadruple the rates that our citizens have been paying. So,
I have a rough idea where I think bids may come in, not because the public is definitely appropriate. Anybody an idea where they bid? Correct, and we're not bidding exactly as Plain City did, but based on what we're bidding, which is largely the services we have now, I have a rough idea where. And it's only a rough idea because until they turn the bid, it's sealed.
Mr. President, I move that we table this until we know that the bids are out, and I'm sure he has a date to accept the bids. That's not a date that's going to be, the end-all date. I just move that we table this until we have further information.
What information?
Is there a second on that?
Second.
Councilman Eads?
Yes.
Councilman Hayes?
I would like to have Mr. Saltzman speak if I could.
They told us.
Abstain.
You can't abstain.
All right. No.
Councilman Hitt?
No.
Councilman Stahl?
Yes.
Councilman Boyd?
Yes.
Councilwoman Jackman?
No.
Councilwoman Trainer?
No.
I'll make a motion to adopt.
Second.
Councilman Hitt?
Yes.
Councilman Hayes?
Yes.
Councilman Stahl?
Yes.
Councilwoman Trainer?
Yes.
Councilman Boyd?
Yes.
Councilman Eads?
No.
Councilwoman Jackman?
Yes.
Resolution 128-26 has passed. On to new business. Resolution 129-26. Could I get a motion to read by title number?
So moved.
Second.
Resolution 129-26, sponsored by Shannon Trainer, a resolution amending Resolution 179-25, establishing a blanket and super blanket purchase order amount limit as required by ORC 5705.41, Section D, number 3.
So before we move forward on this, need to make a motion to modify this resolution to remove any reference to the super blanket purchase order.
It's already amended,
It is amended?
yes. The
It-
12926 is amended, it removes the supermarket.
Not on mine.
Mine says so.
Says whereas 17925 references super blanket purchase orders, this needs to be removed.
Yeah. So maybe did I pull up the wrong agenda? The super blanket purchase order right there. Okay.
Oh, up on the top.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean, Shannon, up on the top where it says
It
establishing
still
blanket?
reads the original resolution.
Okay.
At the top, and then it says, will now read as written below, which removes the super.
Okay, all right, so, now you're getting me all mixed. So, is this resolution then is fine as without amendment?
Yeah.
Okay. And this was another recommendation from the audit, the state auditors that come in to establish a blanket, a purchase order blanket amounts and, in the amount of $40,000, is that right? $50,000, to, expedite and ease internal accounting processes. I don't think there was a request to push this through.
The sooner the better we just become, but that's up to you guys.
Any,
We're tired. It's a long night already. That's a lot. I'll just say.
any further discussion? Okay, On to ordinance 130-26. Can I get a motion to read by title number?
So moved. Second.
Ordinance 130-26, sponsored by Shannon Trainer, an ordinance amending section 454 of the codified ordinances.
So section 454 of the codified ordinances sets parking fine dollar amounts. This was a request by the police to bring the parking fine amounts in compliant with the Ohio Revised Code, and we're not talking about general ones, just ones for handicap parking, veteran parking, and the like. It's the specialized parking areas so that our ordinances match those figures as they are set in the Ohio Revised Code. Everything else that is currently scheduled is the same. So as a normal parking fine for exceeding the 2-hour limit downtown would be $25.
Any other discussion?
There's an emergency on this.
They're out of tickets.
Yeah, I was gonna say, they're about out of parking tickets. They need to order more, and they want to make sure this is correct before they do that. I move that we suspend the 3 reading rule.
A second.
Councilman Stoll?
Yes.
Councilman Hayes?
Yes.
Councilwoman Trainer?
Sure.
Councilwoman Jackman?
Yes.
Councilman Boyd?
Yes.
Councilman Eads?
Yes.
Councilman Hitt?
Yes.
Motion to adopt it. Second.
Councilman Eads?
Yes.
Councilwoman Jackman?
Yes.
Councilman Boyd?
Yes.
Councilwoman Trainer?
Yes.
Councilman Hayes?
Yes.
Councilman Stoll?
Yes.
Councilman Hitt?
Yes.
Ordinance 130-26 has passed. On to ordinance 131-26. Can I get a motion to read by title number?
So moved. Second.
Ordinance 131-26, sponsored by Greg Eads, a resolution authorizing participation in the ODOT road salt contracts and contracts awarded in 2026.
So once again, we get late notice from the state that this has to be done. It has to be done by the end of this month, therefore it has an emergency clause on it. The one thing that I think we didn't do this year that we had tried to do in a couple years past, and that was to give the Safety Service Director authorization earlier in the year, just when this came up, and we didn't do that this year. So therefore, we do have to try to suspend the rules so we can get this and we can get in on the contract. And hearing that, I move that we suspend the rules.
I second.
Councilwoman Jackman?
Yes.
Councilman Hitt?
Yes.
Councilman Eads?
Yes.
Councilman Boyd?
Yes.
Councilman Stoll?
Yes.
Councilman Hayes?
Yes.
Councilwoman Trainer?
Yes.
Motion to adopt. Second.
Councilman Boyd?
Yes.
Councilman Hayes?
Yes.
Councilman Hitt?
Yes.
Councilman Eads?
Yes.
Councilman Stoll?
Yes.
Councilwoman Jackman?
Yes.
Councilwoman Trainer?
Yes.
Ordinance 131-26 has passed. On to resolution 132-26. Can I get a motion to read by title number?
So moved. Second.
Resolution 132-26, sponsored by Lisa Jackman, a resolution revising job descriptions.
And this is pretty much a housekeeping necessity, just to tidy up the job descriptions. It changed a couple of small things, like who the street department people report to based on who their supervisors are, and added a few changes in the verbiage for potentially hiring someone where a CDL or a herbicide applicator's license is required. We've changed it to say that if they don't have it upon hiring or to be qualified for the job, that they could get that after they're hired.
And yeah, that was, yep, exactly it, kind of making sure that, hey, they can get that training once we give them that position. And while most of it still seems normal as, hey, something offered, it is one of those that I had questioned it there also, that street department, you know, if that's our head of the department, it's an kind of interesting thing to me that we aren't requiring that. Did we have anything we kind of wanted to say on that?
I will comment, same as I commented last week. I don't require the fire chief to be a paramedic. I don't require the police chief to be a detective or a canine handler. I do agree with you that that is not a bad concept to have, but as a requirement, I don't agree with. And the other part is requiring it to be hired is, it limits my view. Some point, Bill Long's going to retire, and I'm going to have to pick. And if only one person comes in that has those certifications, that's who we have to hire. We don't have that ability to go outside. So I believe the language said desired, or maybe, I forget how I worded it, but best be able to obtain, I think that's it. So they have to be able to attain that. And I understand your concerns, but again, it's just as requiring a fire and a police chief to do it. It's just not necessarily reasonable.
Yep, and you had talked with me, but you know that's going to come back up, so here it is for everyone to see what our answer would be. Thank you much.
Any other discussion? Okay, on to resolution 133-26.
So moved.
Can I get a motion to read by title number?
So moved.
Second.
Resolution number 133-26, sponsored by Shannon Trainer. A resolution determining the sufficiency of the application to add certain parcels of real property to the London Gateway Community Authority District, to amend the petition for establishment of the London Gateway Community Authority as a new community authority under Chapter 349 of the Ohio Revised Code, to set a date for a public hearing on the application as required by law and declaring an emergency.
Okay, so this is a petition to absorb the new Madison Reserve Development Project into the London Gateway Community Authority District. This is an anticipated event. It is also a chicken and egg event. This is something that has to pass City Council for approval. It also has to be brought before the Community Authority Board, also for approval. This has to be set for a public hearing, and I don't know if there's been a date scheduled for that public hearing, but there's really nothing for us to do until that hearing occurs, so we'll just leave it on for a second. Do we have a date for that public hearing?
I haven't been given one, but I think the next one, available, one that was first.
Is that enough time to do the requisite publication?
It would probably almost have to begin, if you're gonna put it in the messenger, you probably miss the deadline for that. Each of the earliest.
I'm sure that they would appreciate the earlier date, since they're requesting an emergency on this, as opposed to a later date. But I don't know when their board is meeting either, whether that's occurred.
Now, we post the public hearing on the website, and then you get the mailings out. I think we should be able to get it by May 21st.
We got it fixed.
So you'll see in the packet, we do have an application for this. We didn't have that at the finance meeting, but we did ask for it. And they have supplied that now, so we do have that for all council members to look at.
we'll have to amend this resolution for public hearing because they have it down April 21st, 2026 at 6:30. So we'll have to amend it to May 21st.
Want to amend it now, or? Motion to amend the resolution to fix the date as stated in the proposal from April 21st to May 21st of 2026.
A second.
Councilwoman Jackman,
Yes.
Councilman Stahl,
Yes.
Councilman Hitt,
Yes.
Councilman Eads,
Yes.
Councilwoman Trainer,
Yes.
Councilman Hayes,
Yes.
Councilman Boyd.
Yes.
Any other discussion on this? Okay, on to Resolution 134-26. Can I get a motion to read by title and number?
So moved.
Second.
Resolution 134-26, sponsored by Greg Eads, a resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director to advertise for an RFK Q, that's right, for NCA and the TIF advisors.
So the agenda says RFP, this says RFQ. Which one did we decide? Pardon me? Okay, yeah. So if you remember when we actually had the discussion and we passed the NCA, we had a discussion with a municipal advisor who said that they would, for a fee that's paid out of the NCA, that they would help administer that. There was if I'm not mistaken, there's 21 different sections in that, and each one will have its own little thing that has to be managed. They would do that. It would come right out of the fees. It wouldn't cost us anything, and it would keep the auditor from pulling her hair out trying to manage 23 of those because they're going to come in on different dates. So we had a group that was interested, but we have to put this out and see that their qualifications meet our standards so that we can hire them because they're a professional organization. We don't have to take bids specifically on this as long as they meet our qualifications. Is that all true? Very good.
Are they paid through the NCA, or how are they paid? Through TIF funds, or?
Yes, the funds that are generated in the TIF and the NCA, actually, their fees come out of that. And I believe, is that shared by us on our part? We have 20% responsibility out of our funds that we generate. How's that paid for? Do you remember? Is it just the TIF money and it doesn't affect us at all?
I believe so. I think it comes out of TIF money up front.
Developers.
We get our share.
Yeah, it fell under administration or something like that, it didn't affect any distribution that would come to the city. Take it off the top, as they say.
There's not an emergency on this, so we can leave it on.
Okay, on to roundtable. John?
Nothing.
Tommy?
I'm sorry, you guys, 26 minutes last week, and here we are, 3 hours in. But otherwise, yeah, good meeting. Lots to review. That's all.
Shannon?
I'm hungry.
Agreed.
Andy?
I have nothing.
Rich?
I just want to thank all of our city employees for jobs well done. Thank everybody for coming out tonight. God bless the city of London. Watch over our citizens. Keep us safe and keep us well. Amen.
Lisa?
I have nothing.
Greg?
Wow, Rich, you sound like you're on the radio sometimes. That was very good. I have nothing else. Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank everybody coming out tonight. Especially I want to thank Pat for coming in tonight and fixing this audio. I don't know what you did, but thank you.
Yes. What were you up to?
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
See you in 3 weeks.
What, do we have a break or something?
Yeah, watch.
Oh, it's the end of the month there, yeah.
Yeah, see, 23rd, 30th, and you won't have one to May 7th.
Here we go.
We got
Oh my
4 more
goodness.
this year, too.
This